So, unofficially, welcome to Kids
Out Greatest Crate. That is the third week in a row, I believe, that we have had that.
I just came from work. Hey guys, welcome. Nobody's here yet, anyway. All right,
That's all right. This is the show before the show.
This is the show before the show.
Yeah, this is the actual funny part of the show.
So, before we officially start, I have to let you know.
Okay.
I have integrity.
Is that right?
No, I have integrity.
Okay, I've heard this about you.
I always take whatever Kevin gives me. I don't filter it. I don't cut it. I put out what he says. I never take advantage of having the knowledge of what's going to be in the intro ahead of time. Okay. Never do I do that. Also, I have not seen Kevin today.
Okay.
Kevin he's finishing up with this whole COVID thing. He was not at church today, so I have not, and he didn't work at the escape room, so I have not seen Kevin today.
Okay.
Kevin got me this intro at 4:10.
Okay.
So 50 minutes ago.
All right.
So all I was able to do is add the little cheering in the background noise effect. I wasn't able to do any fun music.
Yeah,
or
your
like
computer
that.
voodoo shit that I don't understand.
Right.
Yeah.
So I need you to understand all of those things before you hear today's intro.
Okay.
Okay. With that being said, welcome to Powerbomb Weekly. Before we can officially start the show, we've
unofficially started the show like 5 times now.
So let's officially.
That's official. But no, you just said before we can officially start the show. So what is
we have to officially start the show
before we unofficially start it. We are deficializing the show at this point.
Hey, welcome.
Yeah.
And now we're going to officially start the show.
All right, and on with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of Powerbomb Weekly. Brought to you by Kitsap Great Escape.
You're learning.
The only escape room in Kitsap County. Find out more and book your room today at kitsapgreatescape.com. On this week's edition of the show, Mike and Joey talk about the continued fallout from what was quite possibly the worst Royal Rumble in WWE history. They'll also talk about a recent WWE record that was broken. Michael will destroy Mr. Bro Russo for daring to say bad things about his buddy Danhausen. And did the MJF versus Punk match live up to all of its hype? All that and much more on tonight's Powerbomb Weekly. But first, let me introduce to you your hosts. Ladies and gentlemen, this man needs no introduction. He is the Tom Brady of wrestling podcasts. The greatest ever in the history of this medium. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Michael Burdett and his co-host. Ladies and gentlemen, this man deserves no introduction at all as well, because he doesn't deserve to be introduced. Honestly, he's like every Nebraska Cornhusker quarterback that's ever made it to the NFL. Total, complete, absolute waste of time. Ladies and gentlemen, Joey Marcello. And now, ladies and gentlemen, on with tonight's show, brought to you again by Kitsap Great Escape. Let's go with the show.
Mike,
yeah,
you've known me for a number of years.
A few, yeah. We've met.
Yeah, we've met. You know, I am a Patriots fan, am I not?
You are.
You've seen me wear this jersey many times.
I have.
I wore this jersey today because I could officially wear it again because Tom Brady has retired.
Okay.
He's no longer a Buccaneer.
He's no longer in anything.
Right. Well, I heard rumor that he signed a contract for one day so he could retire as a Patriot. Mm-hmm. Either way. So the fact that Kevin throws that you're the Tom Brady of podcasting when I'm wearing the fucking jersey.
Well, I hate to deflate your ego even more than
the footballs at the Super Bowl.
Mr. Kevin did therefore, but much like Mr. Tom Brady, I also choose to go out on failure.
So I just thought that was hilarious that I'm wearing has been all day.
No, you didn't pre-plan that. No, that's good. That's good.
Yes, Joe Beth, ouch is right.
I know, that's a harsh burn. I don't know who got burned more, you being reduced to 0 despite your fanaticism for the Patriots and Mr. Tom Brady, or me, who is compared to Tom Brady, but...
so you're taking that as an insult?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, Kevin, he took it as an insult. You've insulted him.
I don't know how to take Tom Brady. I mean, if anything, I feel that I'm kind of more... Johnny Unitas is, kind of more stand-up-ish, a little bit more, old school kind of tough.
Tom Brady is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Tom Brady is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
If not the.
But, yeah.
Anyway, so, hey, as you already
That's
heard
a different show.
You already heard me drop an F-bomb because we just don't give a fuck anymore.
Yes, man, okay, you're coming in hot. I haven't even got one in yet.
We're going to curse. It's a thing.
It happens, yeah.
It's a thing. We don't make money, as we said in the pre-show.
The pre-show to the pre-show of the show. Yes.
We do this for fun and the love of the sport.
Yes, we do. For the love of the game.
It's so
for the
hard
honor of...
That is so hard to love these days.
Yeah, about that.
So, some good memes. Should Matt Riddle have won the Royal Rumble and over Brock Lesnar? No, these fans are wrong and the shareholders agree. It should have been Lesnar.
We'll dive into that a little bit more in just a couple minutes.
And this was perfect. Nick Khan, John Laurinaitis, Kevin Dunn. I like the fact that Kevin Dunn is her.
Yes, as Jim Cornette is called, you Bucky Two Beavered bitch.
And then so that's fun. We gotta have some fun.
Yeah,
have some fun before the show starts.
Yeah.
This is a real picture went all over the internet. This is Nick Khan ringside at the Royal Rumble. Apparently he's scouting his next group of releases.
Well, I can get rid of those 40 guys right there.
And here's the WWE toy aisle.
Yeah.
Released. Oh, hey, this guy's on main event. They gave Djokovic a toy.
That's kind of crazy, but,
Well,
I'm sure someone wants a toy from him.
Although I might want to get the Loomis one. Why anybody would want a Jake Atlas toy? No idea.
No one. That is the blandest motherfucker that has ever existed. He, despite his ethnicity, he is as bland as white bread. Like, and we forgot to mention this a while back, okay? So, Jake Atlas, who had one cool move and wrestled one good match, in my opinion, during my time of watching him as NXT, he showed up at AEW.
Yeah.
Had one match and got hurt.
Yeah.
Now, I don't wish ill upon anyone, and I am sad to hear whenever one of the guys get hurt, but I don't see anything in Jake Atlas that makes me go, ooh.
Yeah, when Dad and I saw Jake Atlas, Dad goes, he can't hire them all.
Yes.
They're not all worth hiring.
No.
And I was just like, why him?
Yeah, I'm hoping this was a short time gig.
And then,
however, though, new champion for a promotion, probably going to show up next week.
Thriving-ish?
Thriving-ish,
And
yeah.
look, Pete Dune's behind him. You can kind of read.
Yeah. Dead and buried. Dead and buried. Dead and buried.
I don't think Tegan Knox is showing up anywhere other than maybe Shimmer if they get that back up and running. Tegan Knox is not coming on any main event show.
No, probably not. I mean,
maybe if MLW gets up and running, but she was nothing to be writing home about.
I don't know if she wants to go work at MLW for $100 a year.
So and then our wisdom from MJF. This one shared by Mike, how it started and how it's going.
Yep. That was pretty good, wasn't it?
And then somebody keep writing this on next on Rampage, MJF versus Wardlow, and in MJF's words, this is never going to happen, so stop sending me shit like this. Wardlow knows his role and demonstrated so on Wednesday night's Dynamite. Did he, though? And we will absolutely talk about that.
Yeah, we're going to take a hard look at that in a minute.
This is the longest running program that is just slow burn. Like, this prime rib is about 110 degrees after 4.5 hours.
Yeah, this is good stuff, yes.
So I was going to put this on there. I didn't for time.
Okay.
But I was thinking about putting it on maybe next year or next week or something like that. I actually have the...
No, we don't have a show next week.
Oh, not next week, but then on the next show.
Spoilers.
Hey, by the way, we're not doing a show next week. I have the Rosie O'Connell clip.
Oh, the Rosie O'Donnell clip?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
The clown clip. Yeah. I have him singing and being his obnoxious self as a 5-year-old.
It's great. Yes.
We're going to play that on our next show.
My wife turned on the Flintstones movie, the 1994 live-action one, today, and that was rough to sit through.
So we're going to
Horrible actress.
I don't know which is worse, is MJF's acting or Rosie O'Donnell's acting, honestly, but it's all pretty bad. All right, so our ratings for January, starting the new year with new ratings. They're not too different. They're not too different from what they've been. But I thought that was really interesting is the night after Royal Rumble, they did get 100,000 increase.
Of course, I mean.
And for whatever reason that I will not understand is the night of MJF versus CM Punk, the thing that they've been building towards, they lost 60,000 people.
So I'm curious about that because I was thinking about it on the way over here, and I was trying to think what else was on that day.
Right.
And I know it kind of sounds a little bit, I don't know. What'd you do?
I dropped my phone.
What else did you disconnect?
Oh, that's not.
Okay, all right. So I was thinking, we always are like, oh, well, football was preempted for
it
Raw.
said what it was,
this and blah, blah, blah. And I don't remember what it was, but if that's the case, I mean, like, it couldn't have been, it wasn't the championships, it wasn't anything like that, so it had to have been,
so,
I don't know what it was.
There's, what was there? I'm reading, I read the article that said what else was on, but it wasn't anything that really, like.
Was it anything major?
Not that I'm...
What, like presidential address or something like that? Or, I don't know. I don't know, but that's weird that you had a major drop-off like that.
Oh, okay.
That show.
So, Dynamite finished 3rd in cable charts, trailing the season premiere of South Park in NBA on ESPN.
Oh.
So, the season premiere of South Park?
Probably. South Park.
I mean, South Park's been off for a while.
Yeah.
Except for their one COVID episode.
Yeah, they had the 2 specials for it, but yeah, that's a lot of counter programming from NBC, so I could see that working. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you would, if that's the case, premieres like that are usually set in advance, so it wasn't like a preemptive thing or anything. So
right.
I don't know. Maybe I would have thought about delaying this another week until there wasn't,
right.
a big debut or something like that for like a big program.
I think they wanted to get it in before the Olympics.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Olympics are going on right now.
Which I think we're going to see a dip in Raw since Raw is going to Sci-Fi, and NXT is going to go to Sci-Fi. So those numbers are going to drop next month, and that's we'll know why.
Yes, we probably won't even get accurate postings from them for that.
But Impact, their numbers grew
substantially.
They're getting ready for their pay-per-view. This is that whole Ring of Honor invasion thing that they got going on. I don't know if that. They had a couple really solid matches this week. What's his face? Jonathan Gresham defended the Ring of Honor belt on it.
Okay.
Against Josh Alexander, or not Josh Alexander, but Macklin, which love or hate him, Macklin isn't. I have a whole new appreciation for Macklin since I met him. The big match was we'll talk about it anyway. But and Rampage went up, half a point. So
and SmackDown stayed where SmackDown numbers have been for the last 2 years.
Right. It's just they're going down a little bit, but not much.
No.
We don't know what this week did because the ratings start on Thursdays and they don't have them compiled till Monday.
Yeah.
But once a month. The end of the month, I will just look at the ratings so that we're not surprised at the end of the year. Nothing jumps out and shocks me. Like I said, I expect the ratings to go down next week.
And I mean, obviously they had a little bit of bump on the last one of Raw because you had both Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey on the show, which I imagine gave them a little bit. But the fact that it barely bumped them 100,000 is kind of crazy when you have. I mean, does that go to show the lack of star power that they have?
That's what bothers me so much about. I personally don't like Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey, all these part-timers having belts and getting all of it. I don't like it. But it shows that it works.
But it doesn't.
The numbers go up.
But, like, that is a very marginal chunk of viewership, in my opinion, for what
it
could be.
It went up 220,000 people in the 2 weeks. I agree, but that's the closest to 200. That's the closest to 2 million Raw's been in a very long time.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I don't.
Raw hasn't hit 2 million in a year and a half.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's the ratings.
Okay.
We like to talk about those. So, this was something that you wanted to bring up. So Mike's actually participating in the show now. He pitches me ideas. He pitched his ideas on Tuesday this week, not Saturday after I had the show already done.
And then the sad thing is I watched more content on things, and I was like, what's happening? Anyway.
So you wanted to talk about several AEW contracts reportedly expiring in the next couple months. And nice picture.
Yeah.
Nice little Tony Khan looking off into the distance, thinking. So these are the only 3 names I could find.
Well,
I looked at a lot of reports and none of them are being named. The only two of these people are already gone, and one of them's injured.
Yeah, well, don't forget, there's also Marco Stunt and a bunch of other people whose contracts seem to be lapsing. I think Joey Janela and a couple other ones have contract lapsing, and that's one of the things.
They're not calling them out by name. Yes.
No, and Tony Khan specifically said that they are not going to do a good luck in your future endeavor post and big announcement. He basically just said the contracts are going to lapse and they're going to go away. Like, we're not going to make a big deal out of we let somebody go or something, Which is, in a sense,
what they used to do in WWE.
Well, the thing with that, too, is you have to look at, WWE is a publicly traded entity, so they have to kind of announce these things, which is probably why they do it in this good luck in your future endeavor crap, is because they have to kind of let people know that these people don't work there anymore.
Right.
Should that affect some type of bottom line, I assume, along the way, right?
Right.
Them being private, they don't have to disclose some of that stuff, I would imagine. So
the other thing with them is, so if we see Cage wrestle at Defy in Seattle, that's no different if he has an AEW contract or not.
Well, also, that's one of the things that I find interesting with the AEW contracts is the amount of people who are allowed to take outside bookings right now, especially we saw John Moxley and almost everybody. Yeah. Everybody can get booked wherever they want at this point. They just can't, go work for Vince. It seems, yeah.
That's the one place you can't get.
Yeah.
And I don't even think I don't think that's a Nick Khan rule. I think that's a Vince rule.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, I would assume so for that, yeah. But, I mean, out of the talent that they're letting go, that is rumored, I should say, to be letting go, because, again, no official announcements, I really don't see anybody that they're letting their contract lapse on that needs to be there anymore.
Well, yeah.
We talked about a show sometime before the winter break when we did the break, and then we had Christmas and a couple things off, and then we had the snowstorm, so we didn't have a show for like 3 weeks. But we were going to do a cut the dead weight kind of idea for AEW, and for the most part, the half a dozen names that have come up with contract lapsing on them that have not been picked up yet. Pretty much all those were on my list of people to get rid of anyway. Brian Cage is a variable in that instance of would I keep him or would I cut him, but I don't think he wants to be there. I think the stuff with his wife and all the Twitter war that they got into and stuff with it, and I think the fact that the WWE is looking at him, I mean, why?
That's Vince's dream right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's Vince's dream to book him into the 24/7 championship. 6 months after he gets there, but I mean, that's feed
him to Roman and go away.
Yeah, something. I don't see anybody in that list that's like, oh man, not that guy.
So when you watch. So you don't get to watch AEW like I do. You watch clips and matches and post.
Well, I get to watch more long form because people have been posting it on the interwebs more. So, but yes, I don't get to watch it live, and I'm not paying for the cable station to watch it live, essentially.
So one of the fun things to watch, Dad and I always do, is they always ticker tape at the bottom the dark results and the other show that's on it's on YouTube only.
Yeah.
And it's always funny because it's like it is 100% like watching WWE superstars. There's like, oh, mid card beats a nobody, mid card beats a nobody, mid card beats a nobody. That must have been the main event because I've heard of both of those people.
Okay, yeah.
So, you know, so you're right. AEW has a large number of people, and the thing about AEW that's, you know, and I think the other reason we don't hear about these things is AEW's got a very fluid contract system. From what I've read and heard, it's like, hey, you want to come work here for 6 months? Here's a 6 months contract. You want to extend it? You don't want to extend it? Cool. Hey, you know what? I'm not feeling it. You know what? We're not feeling it either. Let's just come to and go. And then you have people who think they work for the WWE and throw
some shade.
throw a fit.
Throw some shade a little bit. Yeah, I noticed the WWE has not hired her yet.
Oh, go figure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they will?
No.
No, I don't think so either.
Probably not.
No.
She can join her husband in the,
24. She can go chase. She can chase Dana Brooke.
Yeah, there you go, and they can just trade back and forth. Yeah.
All right. So
again, it's interesting because this is the first round of let goes.
Well,
I mean,
it's 3 years.
I mean, yes, but I'm saying, this is the first big round of let goes that we're seeing. And bless you.
Thank you.
And the thing with that I find interesting is that the talent that he has replaced, the
Joey Janela's.
The indie garbage talent, the comedy stuff is kind of getting moved away for the most part. And I think it just goes to show that they're trying to present a more serious wrestling program at some points. Obviously, there's still massive missteps that they're having right now that we'll talk about in a little bit with some of the follow-up matches for AEW, but for the most part,
Peter Pretty is not on the main show anymore.
Well, I know he said he's still under contract with them.
He wrestles on Dark.
Yeah, but he's just on Dark right now. Yes, but I mean, I think it just goes to show that they're shuffling, and it's not a bad thing what they're doing.
No. And if you bring up, you
might be able to hire everybody, but you don't need to keep everybody.
So, and what I think is smart what they're doing is it's kind of like what NXT was supposed to be originally before it became super popular and the thing that we loved, and then they killed. Back when it was just OVW and it was a local show that you could watch. We could watch, so this will never happen, but Peter Avalon, okay? Let's say that Peter Avalon, he has a stupid gimmick that we don't like. Or, Dolph Ziggler's brother. We'll go with him instead.
Okay.
He had some exposure on the main show early on. Didn't really do a whole lot with it. He kind of worked with Seidel and some people as people were filling out partners. And now he's back on Dark. And he's getting better. And he's working with the wrestlers that eventually will be on the main card at some point in time, honing their craft. So Dolph Ziggler's brother, I can't remember his name right now. He's not a amazing wrestler. He's not at his brother's level yet.
No.
But he's not bad. And maybe in 2 years from now, he's that guy that's competing for the the TNT championship from whoever has the belt then. And it looks like a legitimate contest as opposed to what they did with Adam Cole this week. And
the other thing with that too is realistically, I'm going to go a little bit more on the cynicism of this. I know, shocker, right? But they took a bunch of guys that were internet known.
Yes.
Okay? I mean, let's be real. They were indie internet people, okay?
Right.
And realistically, about 90% of those people should have never been presented on national television program. I'm sorry. I appreciate you for coming and trying, but some of those guys, they never got over, they never got any better, and for the most part, they were all the things that I didn't like about AEW.
Right.
He's
talking about Joey Janela.
I don't necessarily mind Joey Janela and a couple of things that they did, but I just don't feel that was something that needed to have a network major angle, spot on at that point. Like I said, the dude who poured baby oil all over himself to get out of a freaking bear hug was just offensive to me.
Yeah.
And
he was offensive to everybody.
And what they've done is they've weeded out a lot of that stuff, and we've gotten down to the point of,
Actually, he was the first person to lose his AEW contract.
And what we've done is we've gotten to the point of saying, okay, Orange Cassidy fits. He fits where we're at. He fits what we're trying to do. He sells a crap ton of t-shirts from Hot Topic. Orange Cassidy fits. The guy with the baby oil does not fit. We don't need him anymore. That's fine. Because you had to basically cultivate a bunch of talent around 2 or 3 names. Jericho, the Bucks, and Omega.
So Darby Allin's another one of those.
Yeah, Darby Allin's another one. He got picked up. He probably shouldn't have been on national TV, honestly, but he was able to, exceed the expectations and excel in what he's trying to do. And now I can't think of watching AEW without seeing Darby Allin every week.
Darby Allin is what Vince McMahon wants NXT to do. Here's a character, because Darby Allin is a character. He lives his character. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't break his character a whole lot, but Darby Allin is a character. He has a very specific niche.
Yeah.
And he gets over and sells merchandise.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what Vince wants.
Yeah, and that's the thing with and also
but Vince would not.
But if you look at Darby too, Darby's improved.
Yes.
As we've gone on this journey, Darby's gotten better as they've progressed. Some of those guys never got any better.
No.
And that's the big thing is that I don't see I don't see anybody that they've cut. And I'm just like, why? If Pac or somebody was on that list, to be like, why?
Right.
Why is he gone?
He's the only why. But I think but we think we've read enough that it's his decision.
It is his decision, and his wife didn't help matters either because everybody likes to talk on Twitter.
Yes.
Yeah.
So speaking of AEW and speaking of contracts and speaking of people being let go, wow, was it an interesting week for a certain McMahon. All right, so this is gonna get fun. This is gonna feel like we have a virus on our computer here for a second. I love this picture.
Can I start with it?
Let me get through the headlines.
Okay.
Then we can go. Well, actually,
no. Let me fire. I think it's a work.
You think it's a work?
All right, go for it.
All right, so Shane McMahon wanted a major star in Royal Rumble. W took him out and made it because it made no sense.
Do we have a slide featuring after that, or do we need to explain? So this is coming from the fact that he wanted Seth Rollins in the Royal Rumble. That was his initial pitch, was he wanted Rollins to go into the Royal Rumble and have a big thing. And Vince said, that makes no sense. Roman just killed him with 55 chair shots to the back.
Right.
And that started... That was the catalyst, apparently.
All right, Shane McMahon has heat. Apparently he wanted Randy Orton also. Him and Randy Orton to change. And then... Shane McMahon's reportedly been let go.
Well, let's go back to this just for a second. Apparently, he wanted to get up on Randy Orton, and he wanted to switch the order number of Orton and himself coming out. And Randy, I guess, politely told him backstage of, figure out what you're doing because I'm not walking out to your music. You should probably walk out to your music, Shane.
Because your music is playing.
Because your music is playing. Now let's go on.
All right. And
apparently that's a direct quote from Randy.
All right. So he's been let go. So the sources are all saying everything that was wrong with the Royal Rumble was Shane's fault.
The men's Royal Rumble.
Because where Triple H has produced it for the last 5 years, Shane produced
the last 2.
Sorry, Shane has produced this one.
Shane has produced the last 2. He produced last year's and this year's, apparently. Which has also been discussed as not great Royal Rumbles.
Vince had no choice but to send his son home and write him out of WrestleMania plans. What were his WrestleMania plans?
Ah, good. I was hoping you would have that. So apparently, Shane wanted to fight Seth at WrestleMania. Shane booked himself apparently to be very heavily featured in the Men's Royal Rumble, including eliminating several superstars, including Seth Rollins, to set up the feud for WrestleMania, including outstriking Matt Riddle, former UFC fighter, and apparently was going to get up on Brock.
And when that didn't work, he was going to be added to the Elimination Chamber, which we'll talk about.
Yes, the Royal Rumble was to set up the Elimination Chamber match. Shane also said that he would be one of the last 4 people in the Rumble to be eliminated.
Yes.
Yes.
And then, so this started coming all like Shane McMahon clashed with Brock Lesnar over creative control. Shane McMahon clashed with Brock Lesnar. So then it became, like you were saying, he wanted to throw... He's like, no, Brock shouldn't be in it. It should be me.
Yeah.
I should win.
Well, he didn't want to win.
But he didn't want Brock in it.
Originally, Matt Riddle was scheduled to win the Royal Rumble. This apparently has come out. And then when they put Brock in the Royal Rumble, Brock eventually became slated to win the Royal Rumble. And Shane wanted certain things to happen in the Rumble and certain entry points to happen in the Rumble. And Brock said... Unfortunately, Brock did the Hogan thing. He went, that don't work for me, brother. Be like, you're not going to come beat me up at, entry number 29 and, kick my ass for 10 minutes. He's like, nope, that doesn't work for me. I need to look strong for WrestleMania for Roman.
Now, I kind of answered this question already, but were these plans, Mike, discussed 3 days before the Royal Rumble? Or, 2 days before the Rumble?
Apparently, the Royal Rumble was in a constant state of flux for 2 weeks leading into how the Rumble was going to play out, including Shane McMahon changing the Royal Rumble
as it was going!
As it was happening. He reset everything that would happen in the Royal Rumble hours before it actually went to air. While the show was going on, he changed things. And while entrances were happening for people in the Royal Rumble, he was changing people in the Royal Rumble.
Specifically, Bad Bunny was one of those. Hey, Bad Bunny, by the way, you're in 2. Bad Bunny's like, I'm not scheduled for no, in 2 people, it's you.
Yes. Yes, apparently that was a big thing. So basically, Shane, rumor is, Shane took the Vinceism of tearing up the script and throwing it out to, if the old man can do it, why can't I?
So that leads us to Shane McMahon released by WWE and Dad after pissing everyone off.
So, apparently, Brock got his way and went directly to Vince, and Vince said, we're going to do what Brock wants because, well, we have Brock Lesnar here, right? And that led to Shane McMahon having a confrontation with his father, which then led apparently to Shane McMahon going around to the backstage area, completely shit-talking everyone involved.
Which the guys...
Allegedly. This is allegedly, too.
This is all allegedly. And the guys were like, no. So morale's low. Shane's being blamed for everything.
And everybody said that Shane McMahon overreacted and did the wrong thing. Now, the funny thing to come from that is that people who were there, who don't work there now, have come out and said that these reports sound very conflicting to the individual that they know Shane McMahon to be.
Right. So then... they started running these articles. Imagine a AEW run after Shane McMahon.
Apparently, there's a huge rumor going around that the forbidden door that Nick Khan says he's about to knock down one more time, because he specifically said it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what company you work for, or what company you're with right now, the door is open at AEW.
And so there will be somebody. There will be somebody next week showing up.
Will come through the door next week, and
it's the first time he's not He's not. This is one of the first times Nick Khan's ever said, "I'm not going to tell you who it is," because he doesn't like to do that carny crap.
Yes, he's like to be like, "Oh, he'll be here next week." Apparently, the rumor is Shane McMahon is all elite,
and this causes this to happen. WWE is afraid AEW will hire Shane McMahon, and now saying that he's a horrible prick and nobody should work with him because he's unreliable, he's unstable, he's a horrible. The man's father is going, "Do not hire my son. You will regret hiring my son. He's horrible. This is why I had to fire him."
One of the interesting things that is coming from that is, so when Shane left, 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
Whatever it was? Yeah. Shane, when he left, he legit left. Like, he didn't just be like, okay, I'm out. He basically said, I'm going to go do this thing over here because I need to prove that I can do this myself without,
The McMahon
without
name.
Pa behind me helping me out. And that led to a huge fallout in the family, apparently, from Shane stepping away from the company. But Shane tried to be his own man, which is fine. But as I understand it, Shane does not have a shareholder stock in the company.
No.
Shane is not primed as the takeover anymore for Vince. Shane is not. He doesn't hold any executive power. He was just given a role.
This contract that he was released from was a talent contract.
Yes.
He was like Nia Jax. He was like
Basically,
Carmella.
Yeah. He was an on-air backstage executive talent. He was not a, what would you say? He like I said, he's not a shareholder. As far as I understand, he has no stake in the company. He has no stock in it. He cannot. He has no executive veto power or anything like that, despite his name.
Then why was he booking the Royal Rumble?
That is a huge question that I have. Is why? I mean, I assume, like I said, he was probably under some kind of executive role for the company for him doing something, because he was like he had Laurinaitis' job, didn't he? The executive talent relation or something like that. I don't remember what his title was when they brought him back a couple years ago, but yeah, it's.
I mean, some talents do produce things too.
Yes, that's why I highly question. In the world of wrestling, is this real or is this fake? Did they just need to dump the blame, much like with Eric Bischoff, where, they hired him and then fired him 2 weeks later for, SmackDown didn't debut at 20 million viewers, so you're fired.
Paul Heyman,
he
got fired from Raw.
Even Bruce getting the rug pulled out from him. Is this them saying, we need to present a narrative to the shareholders, and why not just have crazy McMahon Shane be the fall guy for this, and we will fire him for this? There's no official statement from the WWE right now of, hey, like we said earlier, thanks for your future endeavor, Shane.
So at 5:38 p.m. on February 6th.
Okay.
What today was today?
That's the 6th.
Yeah, today, February 6th. I am telling you, I do not believe that Shane McMahon will be on AEW in 2022. I don't believe that'll happen.
I mean, I don't think that it'll happen. I mean, realistically,
It's not happening.
If we,
not happening.
We have the storyline section coming up, but I mean, I think it's Keith Lee or Jeff Hardy personally that's going to show up. But is it outside the realm of possibilities that Shane McMahon would walk out on an AEW ramp? I cannot say...
With Tony Khan, anything's possible?
Yes.
But
I can't say no, because I've been proven wrong when I'm like, that'll never happen. Vince will... the WCW will never go out of business and Vince will buy it for $2 million. That'll never happen. Like,
I'm never going to be flipping through the channels and see the same show on both channels.
Yeah, I mean, even...
That was a crazy night.
Even more recently, I'll be like, that'll never happen, and it did. So is it outside of the realm that this could happen? No, it's not, but it's very, very... And the main thing, as we've talked about, is Gimme Sports, Bleeding Cool, Cage Side Ring News, blah, 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 blah. This is not... Yeah, this is not an official
They're dirt
post.
sheets.
This is a dirt sheet thing where Mike Johnson and PW Insider and Wade Keller and Meltzer and a bunch of other people have been doing their thing of, top sources tell me this is what happened, and then people have conferred back and forth that this is what happened. The problem is that it's hard to tell with the way, obviously news and media works. Is this the same story continuing on from the next reporter to the next reporter, or are these different sources that are coming together? Because the thing is all these articles are very similar for explaining what happened.
Right. I will tell you who I think it is when we get to storylines.
Okay.
All right. So, you ready?
I believe I know who it is too.
You ready to limber up? You gonna get ready?
All right. Bro, Fuck you, bro.
Okay, so quote from douchebag himself. A guy wearing clown makeup comes out of underneath the ring. I don't know who this guy is, and I'm like, in the business. I don't know who this is, the guy, and I say, so I took a poll. Is it me, or I took a poll today? Is it going to... The dude talks like an idiot. This is a direct quote from him. Yeah. I'm going to take the video tomorrow on my YouTube channel. Do you know who this guy is? Bro, 75% do not know who this guy is.
The thing with that, one, I appreciate the 13 different accents of stereotypism that you were able to kick out there at that point. He's very, bro, come on, bro. Like, all right, so, you know what the funny thing about that is, though, now?
I think I sounded a lot like him.
But guess what, motherfucker? You know who he is now, don't you?
And he's an AEW megastar.
Yes, very nice, very evil, Mr. Danhausen, but... Fuck this guy. You fucking killed Owen Hart, you piece of shit. You fucked up WCW, you fucked up WWE, you fucked up TNA, you fucked up everything and every promotion that you've ever worked for, and you've never taken responsibility for anything that you've ever done. And I'm going to rip this apart real quick. Hold on. First off, 75% of your audience, when you have 20 people watching your show, is not really that much, because I guarantee you those 20 fat fucks don't know who Danhausen is either, because they haven't watched wrestling in 25 years since apparently the god of booking decided to come out and create The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, and the Mr. McMahon character. Fuck off, bro. I watched Austin on your podcast. You were a little pussy bitch when Austin was on there, and you never said anything like you have in all the shoot interviews about how you created Steve Austin. The only thing you did was suck Steve's cock because he told you that he met Kiss one time. Fuck you, I do watch your shit, okay? Next thing with that is the rest of the quote where he comes out talking about the Ultimate Warrior, bro. The Ultimate Warrior. When Ultimate Warrior was out there, he was the guy in the face paint. Nobody else was. Motherfucker. Ultimate Warrior. Let's see, who else worked in the company at that time? The Road Warriors? They were there at the time. Axe, Smash, Demolition, they were there at the time. Warlord, Barbarian, all those people. Guess what? They had motherfucking face paint on, motherfucker. You don't know anything. You never have. You've never understood the wrestling business. The only thing you had was a flash-in-the-pan moment where you decided to write some dick and fart jokes, and because Vince McMahon thinks that shit's funny, you were given creative control over a company that you never should have been put in that position to begin with. You don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're saying, and you are a harmful, toxic, fucking piece of shit that has been allowed to pariah off of a wonderful sport and cause more injuries, more detriment to the storylines and the people who are asked to perform your stupid, fucked up shit. Cornette, I agree with you 1000%. I will piss on this motherfucker's grave when he dies because he is a worthless, dickless piece of shit who doesn't know anything, and he's never been smart enough to figure out that he doesn't know anything. What else you got?
Pariah. That's a good word.
Oh, thank you.
Good word on it. I was going to say, I think he kind of ruined Hulk Hogan. That's all I was going to say.
No, Hulk Hogan's use of the,
he ruined himself.
Yeah, he ruined himself there. No, fuck this guy.
So
he doesn't know anything, and it's not because I'm on Danhausen's nuts at all, man. It's just every time that, and this is the clickbaity shit that drives me crazy, as Joey likes to say, the clickbait news occasionally, where it'll come up and say, former WWE writer or former WWE talent comments on this. And I go, who is that? And as soon as I click on it or I see a little blurb from the article, I'm like, well, that's Russo, because that sounds stupid as shit. And sure enough, when I click on it, it's like, Vince Russo said on his, hey, bro, come lick my asshole podcast, he said something stupid that proves that he has no clue what's going on. You know who knows who this motherfucker is, dude? The Conan O'Brien Show. Watched by more people than who watch your show, and currently watch the current product as well, too. This dude has got more views on the internet for his videos than you have in your entire career. You are a waste of human flesh. You are, I can't even say you're washed up because you never really had talent to begin with. Being able to have Val Venus say that his skill in life was being able to hold a dozen donuts with no hands. Ah, I get it. His junk. Ha 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 ha. You stole all of your material from bad 1980s horror movie stuff because you ran a fucking video store, and that's where you should remain for the rest of your life. Vince McMahon gave you money He gave you power and he gave you a position, and you fucked him when you left him at the Meadowlands and walked away to WCW, a company that you destroyed. And in every conversation that you have had with any shoot interview, you always blame everybody else. It was standards and practices. It was Hulk Hogan. It was Jeff Jarrett. It was Jim Cornette. It was Dixie. It was this person. It was Vince. It was this guy. They never got my vision. I have seen your vision. It's called Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
His vision is a Judy Bagwell on a pole.
Yes. You took, out of all the people that you fucked up, there is one thing that I will never forgive you for, and that's Mike Awesome. When you took Mike Awesome and turned him into that 70s guy and the fat chick Thrilla, that was you. That was your brilliant plan, was to take Mike Awesome, a legitimate heavyweight who probably could have ripped your fucking skull out of your head barehanded, and made him drive around a bus with a tie-dye shirt on going, "Oh, I like fat chicks." Fuck this Joker, man. So, I wish he would, I can't say die. What I wish is that he was somehow blessed with some sort of parasitic bacteria that slowly ate him from the inside out. I think it might be caused cancer.
Hey, guess who I get booked for the show next week?
Good, fuck him. I will fight this motherfucker.
I'm just kidding.
I'm very much like Jim Cornette. I will cave this motherfucker's skull in with a baseball bat because he is the dumbest dude I've ever seen in my life. Like, fuck this guy.
You done?
No, yeah, I guess so.
So, I mean, I'm gonna let you keep going.
No, I think I proved my point for it. 75% of your viewers, 75% of your audience, bro, don't know who Danhausen is. You know what Danhausen is? On fucking national TV. You know what you haven't been on in 15 years? National TV. You were such a detriment to the wrestling business that when Dixie Carter hired you back and lied to the executives at the network that was allowing her show to be on television, they fucking canned the show! That is how much you have fucked up the wrestling business. A major network said, "Does Vince Russo work for you?" And she goes, "No, Vince doesn't work here." And they went, "Well, we found out he does. There goes your show."
So, it was funny. So, I asked you last week who Danhausen was, and you explained to me.
Yeah.
You gave me a really good breakdown. The very next day, because, we do produce our show on Facebook, and Facebook listens to everything we do.
Yes.
So the next day, I got to work, and I'm putzing around the internet, and 10 things you need to know about Danhausen. And you said every single one of his points. It was like you read the PowerPoint before you came and talked to me. With the exception of one thing.
Research. Okay, what's the one thing?
You didn't tell me about his cooking show.
Oh, Cooking with Dan... Cookinghausen? Yes.
Yeah. He's also a very good chef.
Yes.
Which was the only thing you didn't tell me about.
Okay, sorry, my bad, yes. He's also an avid comic and toy collector as well, too. Yes.
I think we're done with Vince Russo. And
did I make that 10 minutes, or did I go too long?
No, we're fine.
Do I have 1 minute left? Do I have 30 seconds? Fuck you, Vince Russo, and everything about you. I hope that your testicles explode into a massive ball of goo, and you suffer the pain and indignity of all the people's careers that you fucked up in a physical manner. That is the wish that I have for you, is that physically you feel as bad as the content that you have produced for the wrestling world and the amount of people's careers that you have destroyed with your creative fucking genius. Moving on.
All right. So, moving on.
Is there a way to do that? Can you, curse someone like that? Is
Voodoo.
it voodoo work? Voodoo? I mean, you know what? Maybe Danhausen here, the intergalactic dimensional space vampire who's on national fucking television now, getting paid a shit ton of money. Maybe his very evil side will tell us how to accomplish this,
All right. I'm going to read this. I promised on Facebook I would...
Let me catch my breath.
WWE generated more than $1 billion in revenue in 2021. $1 billion. They are part of the $1 billion club. Vince McMahon was there for a very, very short time, himself personally. Now his publicly traded company is worth $1 billion. In 2020, from the article, from Vince McMahon's shareholders meeting,
from Vince's own mouth,
said, in 2021, we reached a significant milestone of over $1 billion in revenue for the first time in the company's history. We ended the year with a strong performance across each of our business lines that, quote, reflected the engagement of a wider audience. Quote, new digital platforms to include the Peacock. And, quote, the return of fans to our live events. You know what it doesn't say on here?
Tell me, Joseph.
We fired almost 200 people. Why were all these people fired?
Budget cuts.
Budget constraints and budget cuts. Well, no shit you're going to make $1 billion if you fire everybody.
Well, there's also... do you have the spreadsheet article that I sent you for... Or is this the only slide we have for that?
This is the only slide.
This is the funny thing about this article. Do you want to know where the majority of that money came from? It came from this deal right here.
Peacock.
Peacock and Fox is what gave them that number. This right here, fans at our live events...
They've had before.
...was the lowest revenue-generating thing that the WWE does.
I want to know...
Fan attendance is the lowest revenue-generating thing on the list that got them to this number. It was in the, low $1 million is how much they were generating from that.
So how do they quantify reflected the engagement of a wider audience?
Well, because this.
Oh, because a lot more people can see that.
Yes, because that. Because they did that. I mean, now, granted, we did talk about the clickbait deal, but they do have the Disney deal where more international content will be able to be seen.
But they closed up most of their foreign shops. So I thought, so I'm glad you answered that, because my first thought was but they didn't allow the WWE wrestlers to do TikToks. And now, granted, WWE has their own TikTok. The Miz has his own TikTok, because apparently he's like, here, Vince, you can have the money from it.
Yeah.
And the only other WWE star that I know that has a TikTok that I see all the time is Caden Casey, because they're not on TV anymore. They're just on TikTok.
Well, because that's what they want from them.
You're right.
They're paying to send them to Burning Man and shit.
Right.
What's up, Perry?
So, I own a business.
Yeah.
I own a business.
Yes. Okay.
So if I fired half my employees and made my other employees work those extra hours, but didn't increase their pay because they're salary, not an hourly wage, they're a salary wage.
Yeah.
So if Kevin, who does work at the escape room, if I made him work 40 hours a week, as opposed to the 15 that he's used to working, but he's getting paid the same regardless, and then I take all of that extra money I could be paying staff to make my business more, have more people involved, and I just pocketed all the rest of it, I'd make more money, but I'd be running a shitty
I guess what he just said right there is, hey, Kevin, watch out. If you don't start talking good about him in the announce section of the show, you will no longer be employed at Kitsap Great Escape because of budget cuts.
Budget cuts. We're gonna
budget cuts. We're gonna budget cut you. Good luck on your future endeavors. So the thing with that is I've always had this odd dichotomy, because I've worked in dealing with business and things like that before. Of one of the most expensive things for an independent business is the employees.
Employees and taxes.
Employees and taxes. The problem is that
which are hand in hand.
You have to have employees to have a business. Unless you are there every day on your own, by yourself, 24/7 running it, you have to have people. They have to have talent. So, firing 100 people from talent isn't, of course that's going to help pad that. Now, like I said...
Hold on. Okay. We have a fan question.
We have a fan question.
Perry asks... Hey, we don't get the chance to actually interact with our fans, so we're going to. Perry asks, is it true Disney wants to buy WWE so they can have more princesses? No, that is not the truth. So the whole truth of it is WWE is Disney bought a small, tiny little portion of WWE in Indonesia,
Yes.
so that people in Indonesia can watch WWE programming on the WWE network, or the Disney Plus network. That is the only thing that is going on with Disney right now. It was a very clickbaity article, as he kind of referenced earlier.
Yes.
So if you want to watch, it's kind of like in Russia. In Canada, Russia and Canada, way different things.
But apparently Sarah Palin can look across and see Russia.
Right.
Yes.
From Alaska.
Yes.
So in Canada, most people were able to watch WWE wrestling on Stampede Network or
something like that. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. I know in the UK it's Sky One.
Right. So it's just buying into that network.
Yes. Essentially what it is they bought a chunk of product for them to be able to air in a foreign country. Now, I will say this. I definitely think he's waiting for that magic number of Disney buys everything for $4 billion. And I feel that if Disney offered him $4.2 billion to buy the WWE, he would definitely sell it.
And it is also, Perry, you need to understand that the WWE does not have any princesses. They only have a queen.
They do.
They actually have two. Or is she no longer the Queen of Black Hearts?
Well, there's Queen Zelina. Oh, they have three.
They have three.
Yeah, they have three.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Speaking of how we got to having $1 billion.
Oh, we did reference, what was it, Outside? Yes.
Outside Ventures. So in the Jeddah Superdome in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, which they often don't mention that's where this Elimination Chamber is going to happen, on February 19th, which is next in a couple weeks.
It's in 2 weeks.
We are have Elimination Chamber. And you see this right behind Mike's head right here, this Austin guy? That's where Shane wanted to be. So when Dad said last week, and I threw at you last week, that that Vince was looking for a new son-in-law, no. Now he's looking for a new son.
Yes.
That's from Dad, not from me.
No, that's pretty good. That's pretty accurate for it. I mean, with the Elimination Chamber,
Mike has
wasn't it because they got behind on the Crown Jewel shows because of COVID, so they have to essentially catch up to make up their deal?
Yes, because you don't want to cross a Saudi Arabian prince and not fulfill their deal.
Wake up with a motherfucking horse head in your bed or something.
Or your plane gets stuck on the tarmac.
Yes.
Oh.
I mean, here's the thing with Elimination Chamber, and if you look at the people who are going, because there's also another match that's announced of Lita versus Becky, and there'll probably be some other things going on, but all this is payday.
And we'll talk about the other payday at storyline.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna wrap up one more payday that we got to get out to for some busted up old fuck here in a minute. But I mean, the thing with this is that like I want to hate them for this, okay? And I do.
You do.
I do, and it's not because that I don't believe that these people don't deserve entertainment or they don't have anything like that. It's the problem that the way the paycheck came about. This to me would be no different if they went to like, I don't know, Russia and put a show on for Putin or something, or went to...
How about China?
Or even something like that, where it's just like, you're literally doing this for money. You don't care. They could execute 500 people right in front of you in the building, and you wouldn't care. Because you're getting a bunch of money from them, and you're going to be able to give him another $3 million to go over there and have a 5-minute match.
So, which is interesting. I'm glad you brought up the.
Before we go on, you know who I feel fucking sorry for in this whole thing is him, because he's going to have to wrestle in the Elimination Chamber barefoot. He is going to have his feet destroyed unless he tapes them up.
He's probably going to have to be sober. Anyway,
oh, that's right. Will probably isn't going to be able to bring his dope across international borders.
So I'm glad you brought up the whole execution thing, because I know that was a huge...
Yes.
So, I noticed something immediately changed after that. So, Elimination Chamber, the first three events in Saudi Arabia, whatever they were called, Crown Jewel, Elimination Chamber, whatever
Blood Jewel. This is Blood Jewel and Blood Chamber.
So, you would watch it, and it was like so distracting as a viewer, because I still watched it. You had all these Saudi Arabian princes sitting in front in couches and lawn chairs and not lawn chairs, I'm sorry, couches and recliners, and they were all sitting up front, and half of them were staring over the back, just having like a business meeting.
Yes, and also when they had their kids there for the last one, and they were literally just running around and
hold on.
Not paying attention to the show.
Hold on, let me get there.
Okay.
And then every once in a while, the camera guy would try to find a woman or child in the crowd. And trying to find a woman in the crowd for the first two of the Saudi Arabian events was not happening.
Well, the first one there wasn't any.
Right. It was not happening. So then, like around third or fourth event, I'm not tracking it. Third or fourth event, Saudi Arabia did their executions, and everyone's like, please tell us they're not going back. And they did go back. And then that was the first show where it looked like you were literally watching any other pay-per-view. There was kids in the front row.
Yeah.
Look at our happy children. Look at our women here. Look, our wives are with us.
We're changing the culture of a country.
Because all it is trying to give the illusion that, hey, we're just like you guys. We're fun-loving and we love wrestling. And I honestly believe that probably 90%, maybe as much as 98% of the people in attendance feel that way. They just want to enjoy a good wrestling match. I'm hoping that none of these people were brought at gunpoint and you will cry, you will cheer, I'm hoping we won't know until probably 2037 when we get to watch the Dark Side of the Ring Saudi Arabia special.
When this deal comes up in 10 years, yeah.
But the kids look like they're like loving what they're seeing, because they're probably not able to do things like this very often, to be honest. Now, the one thing that you referenced with Matt Riddle is it is winter here. It is not winter there. They're in an outside arena that is in the excess of 100 and some degrees last time.
I thought the last one was closed. The last one was closed.
No, they just had the big awning over the thing so that they... Either way. Know this, that some interesting matches are going to happen. So, Elimination Chamber. Now, Mike, you wanted to discuss, is this the right time and place for this particular event with WrestleMania in a month?
No, this is not, because you are asking these guys to beat the fuck out of each other in the Elimination Chamber a month before WrestleMania. And also, as we have found out, the one thing with this show, at least somewhat, with this at least is a main storyline that's happening to a point. But the Saudi shows have existed in another universe the entire time. Like,
true.
For the most part, everything that's happened over there
except for the person who's not on the slide saying, I'm going to murder this man here in the middle.
Well, yeah, but because
that carried over.
Yeah, but the thing with that is that they have always been a separate entity.
Yes.
In their shows. There's a dome over it.
Oh, okay.
So it's not completely outside.
All right.
Okay.
So I guess...
But the thing with it is that they're promoting this as like the road to WrestleMania. They specifically said on
Yes.
Raw, the road to WrestleMania has a speed. Well, what was fucking bald-headed dumbass said? Yeah,
Goes through the elimination chamber.
yeah. They have a speed bump on the way to that, and
So, all right, so I want to understand. You're not upset, or you don't think that it's bad booking that we're doing a pay-per-view before. You're
I
just
think
so like
it's-
it's the whole fact that they're doing this structure before
one,
WrestleMania.
they should not do this structure. Two, they shouldn't have a pay-per-view. I mean,
But
we
they always have. Fastlane. Fastlane has always come between.
Shouldn't exist.
It has forever.
But shouldn't exist.
Okay.
You should not have. We haven't even digested the Royal Rumble, and we're already. We've talked about this for years, and this is a whole nother show that we could get into. Of there's just too many fucking pay-per-views.
Right. But
There's
this
too
year
many.
there's less.
Everything is booked towards a pay-per-view, but the pay-per-views don't matter half the time. So it's like the
So-
pay-per-views are just a really long episode of Raw. So you're charging people, $12 a month or $80 a pay-per-view to watch something that doesn't matter.
So what let me ask you this then. So you poo-poo on this,
Yes.
but then you also poo-poo on AEW putting out main event pay-per-view quality matches or pay-per-view star matches, dream matches on free TV, and they only have 4 pay-per-views a year.
I know, I'm an enigma. It's hard to figure out at that point. But yes, no, I agree with that. See, what I'm looking for is the Goldilocks. I don't want too much. I don't want too little. I just want just the right amount.
So would
okay?
you be happy with, say, 6 pay-per-views a year? You have a pay-per-view every other month that you lead to? Yep.
I could build that. I mean, the reason it's called the Big Four is the Big Four. Maybe 4 and then 3 more, or maybe even 4 more.
So the
7.
problem is the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania are just too close to each other.
The Royal Rumble and WrestleMania have become too close to each other. And to answer your question about the AEW thing, this is, when AEW popped, we always compare AEW with TNA and TNA with WCW.
Yes.
That's the problem that I have when I say those things is I feel like they're just really booking a great television show. And maybe it's because everything's changed, I just always felt like WCW put on a great television show and put on a shit pay-per-view. And AEW, I feel, has kind of that same thing of like, why would you pay money for something when you're just going to get it for free? That age-old adage, why buy the cow when you get the milk for free, right?
Right, and I think that AEW is not putting their stock in their pay-per-views.
Well, I mean, of course they haven't. I mean, they're not in the pay-per-view business at this point. But I mean, maybe, like I said, maybe that's just an out-of-date thought that I have for it. But for this pay-per-view,
So
this is, and what do we have? We have 3 matches right now.
yes,
We have 3 matches. That's
4.
the other thing.
4.
Is there 4 now?
But we'll talk about that in storylines. I want to say that.
Well, hold on. Wait,
we're going to talk
let
about
me
it in
get to the
story.
point there. Let's look at that as a whole.
Okay.
Right now, look top down to the bottom.
Okay.
We have another pay-per-view.
Yes.
We have a pay-per-view in a foreign country that is known for having issues, okay?
Yes.
We are goodwill ambassadoring a pay-per-view in a foreign country known to have issues with our top talent who are all having concurrent running storylines, whether they're good or bad, moving towards our Super Bowl of the year, WrestleMania.
Yes.
We have 4 matches right now. 2 weeks to get there. We're not even getting full cards until the day of the fucking shows now.
Yes, I agree.
Which is ridiculous. So why would I want to watch this for 4 matches going back up the ladder of we just had a pay-per-view. Nothing makes sense. Everybody's in a bad position. Here are your top talent in a foreign country known for issues that's having a pay-per-view just because they got a bunch of money. Does that make better sense of where I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Too much, too soon, not enough time to digest. I like to chew my meat before I swallow it. Right now, I'm just taking a hog leg to the face from these fucking people. And they're gonna hurt themselves.
Yes.
This man is going to throw this man through one of the chamber walls, and he is probably going to get foobarred.
Well, at least you can...
This dude is going to do too much and probably get killed by one of these two guys. This guy is going to look probably the best out of anybody, and this guy knows better to know what bumps he's going to take to stay the fuck away from these guys.
Yeah, AJ's like, pin me first.
Probably, yes. I'm surprised he's going. I am shocked that he's going back.
Well, so at least you can, then maybe you can at least be happy that thus far, there's only one Elimination Chamber match in the Elimination pay-per-view. Because normally, that is a huge contention for you also.
Yes. Well, that's fine. That's fine. I would rather have... I mean, Lockdown proved that it was just too much of a good thing.
Right.
You know? I think that when they did TLCs and all that stuff, it was good, and then it didn't make so much sense, and then it just too many guys were getting hurt. But then it didn't also make sense to have a TLC pay-per-view. Eventually, we just had a TLC pay-per-view that had nothing on it.
Yeah, there was no table
there
matches.
Was no
ladder matches, no
yeah,
chamber.
None of that.
All right, so I want to let you know that we are actually 10 minutes ahead of schedule.
Oh shoot! Okay.
So we have.
I will try and not get choked up on Raw and NXT this much. I will tell you in advance, I watched the one segment from Smackdown, and that was it.
Okay. Well,
I don't know anything about what happened on Smackdown.
Well, we'll talk. So, WWE. We're going to start with them. So, first we'll start with Raw.
Okay, I lied. We're going to be here a minute. Okay,
So
we finally get the cap off. I don't care about this. I need to talk about this first, okay? We finally get the cap off of the heated storyline that is Rhea Ripley versus Nikki Ass.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Ass.
I couldn't write everything here, so I just went to the main one. The main.
Hi, Tony. Love you too, buddy. I go to graveyards. So we finally get the riveting wrap up for this. Do we get this? This is so bad that we didn't get a pay-per-view out of it because they went And then this was also so bad that it had to be the opener for Raw, and they had to do a bunch of recaps after the fact. It was also
after the
after the hoo-ha.
After the whole who we gonna watch Brock wrestle and
yeah. After the hoo-ha with Brock and Lashley. While they were getting out of the ring, the announcers are saying, well, you know, Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley, but Rhea Ripley's also had her own problems over the last couple weeks with Nikki Ass. And they have this match. It's okay. It was fine. It's fine, right? Rhea gets one of the biggest pops. She has a bunch of signs out there. Kids love her. You know, the girls, every time they shoot the girls, you know, the 13, 14-year-old girls in the audience, they're loving her.
They love Queen Barb.
They love Queen Barb. The guys love her, you know. She's amazing, and she's talented, and nothing that she does looks bad. And that was one thing I loved watching this match, was that nothing that she did looked bad, right? She's just in a bad position. And she just wins. And then basically they're like, and moving on.
And that's over.
And that's over. And moving on. So literally went nowhere. Okay, now we can go through your breakdown.
All right, so how far is this theory going and why? So as we showed, that theory is going to go to the pay-per-view. I didn't, when I watched Raw, I had no idea that was because this might be to piss off Shane.
So also the thing with that is that Austin. So let's just go through match 2 real quick.
Austin Theory beat Kevin Owens.
So match 2, we saw The Miz defeat Dominic Mysterio in 2 minutes and 8 seconds.
These were all Elimination Chamber matches.
I like that Dom is growing his hair out like his real daddy. And Nobody cared. Nobody cared. This was garbage. So both The Miz and Dominic Mysterio are over here right now. So then Austin Theory and Kevin Owens have a fucking good match, in my opinion.
They had an amazing match.
They had a fucking good match. And on the way over here, it immediately made me realize that they do not know how to book anybody anymore. Because I started thinking about Mr. KO, and I'm like, man, just a couple months ago, KO was fighting Roman Reigns. And now he's getting beat by Austin Theory.
Did you see the meme that went around? That I wanted to put on, but it was like it was so last year. But it had a picture of It was so last year. It was a cartoon, and it had Paul Heyman trying to unlock the lock from Roman Reigns.
Oh yes.
And Kevin Owens and the referee are having a picnic lunch, and Roman's like, "Damn it, that's my house key."
Well, aside from the kerfuffle of that match that took place for it, I just remember, I know we were in the Thunderdome, but I remember everybody was going nuts. Oh, shit, Ken Owens versus Roman Reigns. This is going to be great. This is going to work well together. This is going to bounce off. And now Ken Owens is just a crazy person. So basically what happens is that they book people up to a point, and then they squash them, they destroy them, they turn them into a comedy act, and then they make them a crazy person. Yes. And that's what Ken Owens is. And he loses to Austin Theory for your qualifier to move on to the Elimination Chamber. Austin Theory will be in the Elimination Chamber match at Blood Chamber. Great match, though. Angelo Dawkins defeated Dolph Ziggler. Nobody cared. Riddle defeated Otis. Did you care?
No, I wondered where Well, this was after the... you can't just say Riddle defeated Otis. You have to bring in the amazing scooter race, 50 laps around the arena.
Yes. Now, hold on. So for those of you who don't watch the show, and I don't blame you at this point, one of the storylines that has been going on is RK Bro versus the Alpha Academy, and I had to tell my wife, I was like, that man was an Olympic level athlete. Legitimately. And this is what they're doing for him, going, sheesh!
Sheesh! I want him and Chase to fight.
Because the Olympics are happening, they had to have an Olympic thing with their Olympian, because their actual other Olympian that they're probably trying to figure out how to book to the moon, they'll kill him too, don't worry.
And he's very fond of saying he got he's the only Olympic athlete with a master's degree that he got with a freaking 4.0, because that. Oh, that's like what Kurt Angle used to say.
Whatever. Yes, Chad Gable is an Olympic wrestler who wrestled for the U.S. Olympic team. Okay, anyway, moving on. This is what I'm trying to get to. They're in a building, an arena, because that's part of WWE's new marketing, is that they're not running buildings anymore. They're running arena shows, okay? Because they're the Rock show coming to town, which is why when the pyro, when they paint, they spring for it, goes off, people go, yay! And the music plays. Everybody goes, yay! And then everybody goes, boo! And then everybody sits down on their ass, because it's just the Rock show. Just play the hits, and everybody can go home happy at this point, right? The point that I'm getting at is they're in an arena. For those of you who have never been to an arena before, even a small one, they're pretty fucking big. Okay? And they said Riddle and Chad Shorty G. Gable over here,
who was wearing his Olympic speed skater.
Who was wearing his Olympic speed skater suit that he got from his Olympic friends. We're going to have a scooter race around the arena. The first person to make it 50 times around the arena. And I said, they are going to be there all night. But they managed to make it around the arena in about an hour and 10 minutes.
And then the finish line was right in front
the finish line was in front of the announce table at the ring.
With a photo finish picture set up.
Why would anyone watch this show? Why? Why would anyone watch this show?
Chad Gable won.
And Chad Gable won because Otis waylaid Riddle, and then they had a match, and nobody cared. Bianca Belair defeated Carmella, and nobody cared. AJ Styles defeated Rey Mysterio. This is not a bad match.
Apparently, Dave Meltzer liked this match.
This is not a bad match.
3.5 stars.
This is a fine match. This showed two guys who are basically in their twilight. One guy who should not be in the company anymore, but apparently is their poster boy for the upcoming game be there. Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar said that they were going to have a fight, and then they didn't. Shocking. That's fine. That's wrestling booking.
Here's the thing. Brock Lesnar came out in wrestling gear.
I
was like, I got tricked. I got tricked. I'm like,
nah.
No, I did, because Brock Lesnar has been not Brock Lesnar for the last 3 months on WWE.
The thing with
he's
Brock
been
Lesnar,
showing up more than he used to. He's been talking. He looks goofy as hell. We're not going to get into that. And he showed up in wrestling gear. Like, Brock Lesnar's never wanted to fight on TV.
I can tell you why this is happening. Because they still have backdate stuff for his contract for when they couldn't travel.
I know. But still, I believed for a second that Brock Lesnar might actually fight.
You know why I didn't believe that they were going to have a match right then and there at that moment is because Bobby Lashley was wearing a fucking awesome suit that
I just thought it was going to come
Seth Rollins.
I thought it was like, you know what, we're not going to do this right now, but we'll do it for the main event. Like that's how they always set it up.
Yes, no.
You watch it at the beginning, now you got to watch the end.
Why give the people... This is the thing that bugged the crap out of me too, okay? And this is something we have to have in when we get to NXT, but... And we'll try and wrap this up quick, and we'll just talk about Becky in a second. But you have the matchmaker, Adam Pearce, in the ring. He's one of the executives, right?
Okay.
And he, again, Sonya and Adam are my least favorite people on the show, okay?
We're going to talk about that at SmackDown.
They make no sense at all.
We're going to talk about that at SmackDown.
They flip-flop their character, they flip-flop their power, they flip-flop everything back and forth. Brock Lesnar says, Bobby, you know you're a paper champion.
Bobby, I want to fight you, Bobby.
Yes. And Brock Lesnar continues to refer to himself in the third person, which makes me think that he has dementia at this point. Brock tries to be funny and revamping his Bobby Who thing. And there was one guy in the crowd who had a sign that said Bobby Who. One guy, okay? So,
caught on.
There we go. Now, this was the thing. Brock says, I want to fight you tonight, Bobby. And Bobby says, let's go. And then MVP is like, nah, brah. Just let's go this way, okay? So they don't do that. And then Adam Pearce goes, well, Bobby Lashley might have deprived Cincinnati, who will most likely be your Super Bowl champions, the main event title match. But we're going to have it in Saudi Arabia when he has to defend in the Elimination Chamber and Brock Lesnar is just announced to be there. Okay, great, whatever, right?
Now remember,
the problem with that is that, once again, you literally had your matchmaker in the ring.
Right. Who could have done it?
You had your former champion essentially, exercising his rematch clause.
Which they get away with.
Sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. And then your champion saying, no, I'm not going to do that. Now, I know this is classic wrestling stuff, but why did Adam Pearce need to be in the ring to not make that match? Why didn't he just come out and say, fuck all of you people in Cincinnati, we're getting more money from the Saudis?
Well, you got to also remember that...
He should not have been there. He shouldn't have been in the ring.
I agree, but remember that 48 hours prior to Raw, it was all over the internet. WWE has no plans for Bobby Lashley. They don't know what to do with him.
They put a fucking belt on him.
Yeah, and they didn't know what to do. And they didn't know what to do.
They took the fucking belt off of him, and then they put it on a guy who they have now reburied back in the tag team division of SmackDown because they just silently moved Big E from Raw to SmackDown and took a gigantic shit all over this motherfucker.
Very silently did that.
Yes. Moving on, Becky got fucked up by Ronda Rousey because Ronda Rousey is our outside superstar talent and our legitimate talent, and everybody who works for the WWE is second fucking chum to anybody who has any outside of the company's talent. Becky looked like a little bitch. She whined and cried after she called Ronda out. And then, after she gets her ass kicked, and looks like a little bitch, and Ronda walks out and says, I'll figure out on Friday who I'm going to challenge for the title. She leaves, and then Lita comes out. And Lita says, hey, I hear there's some Saudi blood money going around right here. I'd like to get in on that. Let's go wrestle in Saudi, Becky. And Becky goes, no. And she goes, you're a bitch. And Ronda just proved it. And she goes, fine, we're going to wrestle in Saudi Arabia. Am I missing anything from this shitty fucking show this week?
No, but I do want to say one thing that's going to be important when we move on.
Okay.
Ronda had the I hate the fans look on her face. She had the I'm not here for the fans, I'm here for myself.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I want you to remember that, and then we're going to move on. So then we'll talk about NXT. So, the crowd did not get the memo about Gunther.
What did I say? Going back to the show that we didn't get to talk about for it, because we took that time off, but I told all you people the promo that Walter was going to cut. I'm still refusing. I almost said it verbatim.
You did. You did.
And what did I say? I said, that crowd is not going to chant Gunther.
Did they? And they did not.
They chanted Walter the entire time. Also, did I not point out, why does he have to change his name, but the other two fuckers don't?
And Wade Barrett almost called him Walter twice.
Yes, because his name is Walter. Okay? Yes, the crowd said, no, not jiving with this. Which makes Walter look like a fucking fool. So thank you for that.
All right, so they had a 3.5-star match, though.
Yeah, the Diamond Mine match was fine. The Creed brothers, who look like they're the victims of incest, are actually not bad. They just look like the Flintstone characters, okay? And then the rest of Imperium we've been praising for 2 years now is awesome. With Walter out there is great. You know what my favorite part of this match was? This is why Walter's so fucking good, and you people are so dumb for trying to shove this shit down our throats. Diamond Mine comes out, right? And they're doing their, yeah, we're like MMA guys, fist bump stuff, right? And they get in the ring, and the Creed brothers are like, yeah, and apparently the Creed brothers, I don't know, other siblings are out there, and they're holding up like Creed brother towels or something, because those bitches in the front row were all about the Creed brothers, and they're like, yay!
Oh, yeah, the Creed brother towels.
That had to have been their cousins or sisters or something. And Roddy Strong does his thing, where he gets in the ring, and he gets in the middle. Keep in mind, Imperium's already in the ring, right? And he's doing his, weird little, whoo, I'm Roddy Strong, Adam Cole, Bebe thing, right? And I remember sitting there, and I'm like, I'd just kick that motherfucker. And as soon as I said that, Walter goes over, and while Roddy's down on his knees doing his pose, Walter kicks him right in the fucking face. Absolutely genius, because in that moment I said, if I was in a fight with somebody, and all of a sudden the dude, like, I've done this, okay? I had to tell somebody this one time, all right? And this is not trying to sound cool. I said, this is the phrase I used. I was like, I don't white boy fight. I'm not going to step back and pull my t-shirt off or something, right? And when the dude stepped back and went to rip his t-shirt off to get to his wife beater, when he got to about here, I just went fucking hockey punch the shit out of this kid, right? Genius! You would really do that! If somebody's like, hold on, I got to pose, you're going to kick the shit out of them.
Yep.
Heel or babyface, it doesn't matter.
Oh, but wait a minute.
Genius!
Aren't they both heels? Yeah, anyway. If you watched NXT and you were wondering why your TV screen kept going black, but you could still hear the audio, it's because NXT has a 7-second delay, and Raquel's tape was not holding. Raquel popped out of her top 4 times. My first thought was like, I admit, people, I'm a dirty old man. I was like,
don't fuck up our show, man.
I'm not.
Come on.
I was like, all right, so somebody had to have gotten a picture of that. And it's got to be on the internet. And then I realized not a single person in that arena has a cell phone. Mm-hmm. You notice that nobody's taking pictures. There's no flash photography. I never noticed that, except for on the screens above the crowd that makes it look like the crowd's got more people in it.
Huh.
There's never pictures being taken. There's no flash photography. There's no recordings. The crowd.
I noticed that.
The crowd does not have phones. So, it's something I noticed. So, And she wrestled Cora Jade. Cora Jade fared way better than I thought she would.
Yeah, and at the end they hugged it out, bro, and said that they were going to go be in the Dusty Female Cup. Whatevs.
So Mike sent me a text as he was watching NXT yesterday.
Uh-huh.
Did they recast Saray?
So, okay. First off, Saray, you, honey. Oh,
I have the power of the sun.
You poor thing.
I have the
poor
power
thing.
of the sun.
So we're watching this, and this is actually the household is watching this, right? And my wife is sitting there, and she's like, "This is awful." And she's like, because she's like, "Hey, is that the?" Because at first they thought it was the recasted Zombie Dragon Lady.
Yeah, no.
And I'm like, "No. This
No,
is,
you'll see her a little bit later.
This is the. I was like, "Yeah, you'll get to her in a minute." I was like, "No. This is the one chick." And then they actually showed a little bit of the vignette of her doing that. And she goes, "Oh, that's right. This is the Asian schoolgirl fetish girl now, right?" And I was like, yeah, about that. And she's like, "Huh." She's like, and I point out, and I'm like, yeah, with her fucking dollar store, pendant that she has that her grandmother's dying gift to her was. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, I feel so bad for her." She's like, "That looks like something you get from Spirit Halloween, right?" And then they have Saray do her walkout, She's got her little medallion and everything, and she's like, rubbing it. And she's like, "Ha!" And she goes to walk through the smoke, and my wife's like, "You think they're going to, like, Sailor Moon transform her in the ring or something like that?" They did!
Yep. They
Saray,
so
as
when you...
Japanese schoolgirl, proceeds to have a pre-tape where she walks out of the smoky entrance, and as she clears the smoky entrance, she is now in Super Saiyan mode.
So when you used to say they used to pre-tape that stuff on the Thunderdome, and you were like, no. And I was like, no, man, it's the same thing. Okay, that was absolutely pre-taped.
Yes, because you cannot go from one outfit to the next in 0.2 seconds.
And change your hairstyle.
And
color.
Change your hair color, everything about her. I assume that she is not that this will be her entrance, is the pre-tape into her walkout, and she will just morph into Sailor Saray, okay? Now, the other thing with that is, and I had to ask this did they recast her, because from the entrance to the walkout, that did not look like the same person who was here 5 months ago.
No, it is not.
Did they recast?
No. She's gained a little weight
because she looked taller and chunkier. Okay, and I'm not saying that to be sexist. I'm just pointing out body type. She looked taller and chunkier than the woman that they had just shown us a clip for 6 months ago. All right.
So why did Jill Gacy?
She had a match and she got over.
Yep.
And you know what's shocking about that? She fucking got over. Why? Because she won. Because she beat the enhancement talent. She didn't lose her debut match. Her re-debut. Holy fuck, how do you get somebody over, Joey?
Yeah.
You let them win.
Yeah.
She won.
So let's talk about the other 5
Oh, also
matches.
her necklace magically morphed into just a piece of her outfit.
Oh, yes.
And it was on her back.
She didn't actually have a medallion.
Yeah. Because somebody would have been stabbed in the throat with that fucking...
The rest of the matches, Joe Gacy defeated LA Knight because Harold got involved.
Harland.
Sleepy Time Wendy Chu defeated Amari Miller, who was put on as a hit squad for Penelope...
That match sucked.
Puss Buckets, who has all the money.
That match sucked.
Tiffany.
She literally did a move where she grabbed her leg in the middle of the ring and curled up on it like she wanted to go to sleep, and Amari Miller was like, "What are you doing? Get off of me."
Yeah. Andre Chase beat Draco Anthony for some reason.
Oh,
I didn't see that coming.
Wait.
I didn't see
Let's
that.
reverse that for a second, because I do believe Draco Anthony, this is his debut match, right? I want to say this is his debut match. So Draco Anthony, they show a vignette of him, and it shows him in the gym talking about being a military veteran, being his drill sergeant, and all this other stuff that he's doing.
They've been building him up for like 3 weeks.
And I'm watching this guy, and I'm like, that motherfucker's jacked, right? Like, he's big. He's doing like bicep curls with like the big 85-pound curls and stuff, right? And I'm like, man, that's shit like The Rock does, okay? That's a big guy. and he fights Andre Chase. Cardigan wearing
Chase University.
Chase U. He loses to Andre Chase.
4.5
So you're
minutes.
telling me that this
minutes.
big, jacked up, fucking military, whatever he is, dude, loses to Andre Chase because Andre Chase has a mental break in the ring and just kicks the shit out of this kid? What did we just talk about with Saray?
Yep.
How do you get someone over?
All right, so you were talking about the barriers being close. You think they're closer now, or
They are so close to the ring.
the
Guys can't do shit out there.
So they're not in the same place they used to be.
No.
Is it? You know what? You're right, because they moved the table, the announce table.
The announce table is not on the corner of the ring. It's in front of the ring.
Right, it used to be
in the
hidden.
hard cam, right?
Yep.
Which also screws things up because they're not shooting back here. They're shooting like this now into the ring, and it washes everything out because of those stupid fucking football LED lights that they put in the back. So everything is constantly blurred.
Right.
Like
and
you
the
have the
crowd, the fake crowd chanting,
and the crowd is going back and forth, and that is something that I forgot to mention about Raw and NXT. Raw's fake crowd noises was so poorly pumped in. I 1000% know that they actually used the video game audio for one of the walkouts.
It was worse than SmackDown.
It was
worse on SmackDown.
so bad.
I didn't notice
Raw's
I didn't notice it on Raw, but I absolutely noticed it on SmackDown.
And NXT had the same problem. They absolutely had the same problem.
So, finishing up with NXT, do you think Grimes has a shot against Carmelo?
No.
And did Carmelo's hype man become dumber?
Yes.
And he just now, what? Yeah. He was intelligent and like he was the mouthpiece, and now
he's dumb. Also, no, I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. Because as we understand, in HBK and Triple H's sabbatical is basically running NXT for Vince, and Sean is very high on Carmelo Anthony. So no, I don't think Grimes is going to dethrone Carmelo Anthony.
We got a bunch more vignettes for more characters. Yay, more characters.
Duke said that he was addicted to gambling.
Yes,
and
so
now he's addicted to being a crazy person and shaving his head.
We repackaged him.
We repackaged Poker Room Duke Hudson.
But you know what? You complained about that. You're like, what is the deal with him? He's a poker player? Why is he a wrestler? Well, now he's not a poker player anymore.
Because he admitted to having a gambling addiction.
We forgot to mention that on Main Event, I don't know if you looked at your sheet, but on Main Event, we had Veer Mahan wrestle. Veer is still coming.
Well, no, isn't he here then?
No, well, he's on Main Event.
You know what's funny about that is Veer's former tag team partner has actually gotten more screen time on television than Veer has.
And then Liv Morgan wrestled Doudrop on Main Event.
Because Liv Morgan just said she wants to have fun and wrestle everybody. Enjoy your $60,000 a year, hon.
And then there was the main event. Braun Baker and Tommaso Ciampa versus the Drug Cartel. It was a decent match.
It was fine. It was a fine match except for the ending spot. For absolutely no reason, one of the members of the Drug Cartel climbed up onto the ring post to do a dive, facing the complete opposite direction from the ring because the spot that they had called was that he was going to be shoved off the ring apron through the table. And I guarantee you that this motherfucker thought, I am not going to make it if I am looking into the ring and jump back. I am going to have to completely, for no reason at all whatsoever, face the opposite direction so Tommaso Ciampa can come and launch me off the side so I can go through this table. That was horrid spot.
Yes.
That was a terrible spot. Also, they had a little thing where Tommaso Ciampa jokingly handed Braun Breaker the belt, like, hey, you know, we're all good here, kid. And then Braun Breaker put the belt down in front of the Drug Cartel and was like, hey, come at me, bro. Overall, your main event was fine, and the only thing it proved is that Braun Breaker is a superstar on the verge of greatness, and Tommaso Ciampa is doing what he wants to do, which is guide the younger people to stardom.
He's like, we're done with this for now.
Braun Breaker will be probably your main event at next year's WrestleMania.
So, we're going to move to SmackDown. Apparently, Raquel Gonzalez and Io Shirai were in a dark match, and so was Tommaso Ciampa and Pete Dunne. So, they're not quite done with them yet.
No.
Okay, so I noticed the crowd noise immediately. So we opened up with our tribal chief. Everyone's acknowledging him. Paul Heyman explains his things and his reasons. They make sense because Paul Heyman's saying them. Paul Heyman makes sense. Paul Heyman knows how to write a story. Paul Heyman goes, I realized that I was trying to protect the tribal chief. I was wrong. I should have been protecting... I tried to protect Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar didn't want to hear it, so why would I help a person who doesn't want to hear the right thing? And I amended, I've gotten forgiveness, and okay, it made all sense.
Yeah.
Paul had
points.
Paul had points. Paul had reasons. And then someone's like, okay, hit the audio right now. Because it got so much louder. And here comes Goldberg.
Boom.
Goldberg. I watched the crowd.
Goldberg.
I watched the crowd. The cameraman was trying so hard to find people actually chanting Goldberg. Because the number of voices I heard through my speaker did not match the number of mouths moving.
Also, this is probably one of the few times that I could easily say that they were not able to locate the pockets of people going, yay, Goldberg. Because everybody in that arena basically looked collectively like they went, ah, fuck.
So, Saudi Arabia, remember when they first started, Saudi was like, we want Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage.
It was Yokozuna.
Yokozuna to wrestle. And someone's like, somebody tell them they're all dead.
Yeah.
So apparently, the Saudi Prince must love Goldberg. Because Goldberg has been to every Saudi Arabia trip. And had a title shot at every single...
Well, there was also the wonderful breakdown that happened a while back that showed that since his return, Goldberg has had X number of matches, and X number of matches, all of them except for like one, has been for a title shot.
Right.
Which counterpoints back to Kevin last week saying, why did Ronda Rousey or Brock Lesnar need to win the Royal Rumble? Because they are... They are star powered enough where all they had to do was walk out on a respective show and go, give me a title shot. Because that's what Goldberg did.
Kevin Owens said the most meta thing ever. So, here's the thing.
Kevin Chambers. Did I say Kevin Owens?
No, you said Owens.
Okay, well, Kevin Chambers last week on our show. He said, why did these people need to win? They could just come out. That's what Goldberg did. Goldberg just came out and said, I want you in Saudi for the belt. And Roman said, I'd like that payday too.
I would agree that 2 years ago, when this match was supposed to happen...
This was supposed to be your WrestleMania main event.
The match was hyped properly. People were invested properly. And I think it might have been good. Good.
Is Goldberg threatening to kill Roman Reigns?
No. But he's next. So what's going to happen, he's going to get over there, he's going to give himself a concoction, he's going to be in 100 degree temperature. But here's the problem.
Goldberg can't fucking walk.
WWE has created their own problem. Nobody can unseat Roman Reigns, so Goldberg looks like at least a credible threat.
How? He's almost 60.
Because
he can't
He
walk.
beat Bobby. He beat Brock. He beat Drew.
No, he didn't.
Oh, he didn't beat Drew. But he beat Bobby and he beat Brock.
He didn't beat Brock.
Yes, he did.
5 years ago when he first showed up.
Doesn't matter.
When he beat Bray and Brock, which is the only 2 matches out of the 7 matches that he's had that he's won.
Okay.
He is done. He can't walk.
I agree. Sonya and Adam were friends again, having wonderful chats.
Oh, yes. Our 2 favorite D-bags.
And then Natalie, or not Natalia, but, hey, I want to fight you. I want to fight you.
This is...
And Naomi wants to fight, and then so Sonya's like, no. And then Adam's like, you know what, Naomi? I want to see that match too. And I can also make matches. So you've got it. Next week, you're going to wrestle Charlotte Flair for the belt. Because why not?
Who cares? Who could care? This right here is a storyline that somebody in the back either A, pitched and is like, we're going to see this through, or this is like, I don't know, who's running SmackDown? Bruce Pritchard?
Yeah.
Whoever's running SmackDown, this is their baby.
So
This storyline is trash.
Ricochet defeated Ridge Holland in 2 minutes, and they're like, no, we're going to double down. And then it was Ridge Holland and Sheamus versus Cesaro and Ricochet.
Because they have no talent.
Jimmy Uso defeated Eric, and nobody cared. Aaliyah defeated Natalya again. Count out this time. Nakamura actually had a match against Jinder Mahal.
Defended his belt for the first time in 3 months.
Yes. And then the main event, Big E and Kofi Kingston versus Herberto and Angel Garcia. Why? Because there's no other tag teams.
Look at the time of these matches. 150, 254, 114, 222, 314, and your main event was 9 minutes and 43 seconds.
And
why? Because we had to have so much backstage promo shit.
So, we're 5 minutes before the show ending, and we've been hearing all night and watched vignettes all night about Ronda Rousey's coming back. Ronda Rousey will be on SmackDown. Ronda Rousey will be on SmackDown. So then Charlotte comes out, and Charlotte's like, I want everyone to know that I talked to Ronda Rousey. I talked to Becky. They're fighting each other at WrestleMania. So that's the thing. So I need a match at WrestleMania because I don't have one now. And who am I going to wrestle? And I can't. They even actually picked a name for her to wrestle. I don't even remember who it was because it didn't matter. Because you've been telling us for an hour and 45 minutes that Ronda Rousey is going to be on your show. So guess who comes out? Ronda Rousey. But here's the thing. It was weird. Ronda Rousey was smiling. Ronda Rousey was giving little girls high fives. Ronda Rousey's not here for... So in 5 days, she completely flipped her demeanor? Or is it just because it's on a different show? Or because we can't keep having heel versus heel?
Well, yeah, they had to do something. They're booking Ronda as the babyface. And the problem with that is that this is not me on my hard flip for it, but Ronda's like Brock. She's not very likable. You can like her, you can respect her, but the way she talks makes her unlikable. Because she's very straightforward ass kicker mentality. You need to have a little bit of sympathy on your babyface when they talk. Like, that's what makes a good babyface. That's what makes...
You're supposed to like them!
Yes, you are supposed to like them. When a babyface is only talking about how much they're going to break a bitch's arm and jack him up, that's not very babyfacey. You know? The babyface has to cut a promo that makes them sound like they will win, but they don't want to hurt you. Ronda Rousey and Brock Lesnar just want to hurt you. Well, that's the thing.
After 20 years, they figured out how to make Brock Lesnar a face. Granted,
what it is that people have looked around and said, we have nothing but Brock Lesnar left at this point.
We have to make him a face.
Yeah, we have to do something. And I mean that from a fan perspective. I even think the fans at this point are just like, at least we have Brock Lesnar. We know when Brock Lesnar shows up, he's going to win. Brock Lesnar will win 99% of the time, all the matches that he have. And what happens when the person you want to cheer wins? Nobody cheers for the guy who gets his ass beat. There's a reason that like journeymen and things like that exist in boxing and stuff. They're just there to get the other guy over.
All right, we spent more than enough time on the WWE. Let's talk about Impact.
And I called it last week. Didn't I tell you that Charlotte and Ronda will be your...
Yes.
So, once again, though, because Becky is fighting Lita at Blood Chamber, Becky still doesn't have a match at WrestleMania, which I assume will be Bianca Belair. No one has a match at WrestleMania except for already the 2 Royal Rumble winners.
Yes.
That's it.
Oh, and at Blood Money, we're also going to get the Usos versus the Viking Raiders.
Finally, because wasn't that supposed to be at the Rumble?
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
So,
Brian Kendrick's pulled because he's a psychopath. How did you not know that he was a psychopath? I have watched this kid for years talking shoot interviews and everything, and I knew that he was a stoner fucking nutcase. And apparently he's way more of a fucking nutcase than I remember because he said some horribly offensive shit about black people and Jewish people and all kinds of shit. He didn't...
Lizard people!
They're lizard people and stuff, and they're part of the Illuminati conspiracy that are controlling the government and all this other stuff that he did. And Tony Khan went, oh, fuck.
I was like, I didn't know he got pulled. And I'm like, Dad, this is going to be so good. You know, because Dad liked Brian Kendrick back in the day. He wasn't a bad wrestler.
Spanky was fine.
And I'm like, you're going to be excited. Mox is going to have this really good... Why is... Who did he actually end up wrestling?
Moxley ended up wrestling...
Yuta.
Yuta, yeah.
I'm like, why is Yuta out here? That's not who he's supposed to wrestle. And then I saw the next day. Now, I will say, Mox and Yuta had a hell of a match.
Their match was fine.
And
his thing with Bryan Danielson after...
That was
good, where he's like...
They did it right.
They did it right, because what did Bryan do? Bryan is still... This is the thing with Bryan. They didn't just make Bryan a heel because they looked at someone like us and said, well, we got to have a babyface and heel for this. And they made Daniel Bryan kind of jealousy, kind of elitish,
but make good points.
But make fair points because he's legitimate, but he still does heel shit, which worked great for the Adam Page match. And he's just carried that over to Mox, where he's like, come on, we used to do stuff together. We can run this place. What are you doing?
And it was like, and you had, and Moxley sold it good, like, oh, man, that makes sense. And I'm like, how are they going to get out of this? How are they going to get out of this? Because it's either going to, in my mind, I'm like, he's either going to punch him or he's going to shake his hand. That's the only way these can end. The only way this can end is either going to punch him, shake his hand, or shake his hand and punch him. That's the only. And then Bryan goes, you know what?
Think it over.
And he walked out. I'm like, oh, brilliant.
Yeah. Good stuff.
We can. This doesn't have to end next week. We can build this. Hey, man. And it's so much better than the way that Andrade's trying. I mean, it's the same thing Andrade's trying to do with Darby Allin, but it makes so much more sense.
It does, because the thing with Andrade makes no sense because he was an absolute waste. And honestly, just how like Brian Kendrick was going to be an absolute waste. The only reason they were going to let Brian Kendrick do anything was to have that moment, like with Scotty 2 Hotty and stuff like that, of, hey, this is your moment to show people that you could still go and you never got your moment in the sun to shine. However, though, Brian Kendrick is a crazy person and said some pretty stupid shit a couple years ago, and, you know, they pulled him.
And then, so, Brody King versus Pac, and, the House of Black versus Zero.
Fucking
Death Triangle.
Match. This match was so good.
Yeah.
This match was so good.
Meltzer gave it 3 3/4 stars.
Pac had... and I swear, this wasn't like you could see through this. He hit every kick and every move that he did with the blindfolds on and threw Malachi Black around. They knocked out Brody King, and then Pac pulls off the bandana and reveals that he can see. And they're like, ooh, look at this. And I'm like, God damn, this is good.
It was good.
This was so good.
And then Ruby got the WWE treatment.
I mean, at this point, it's...
Yeah.
I mean, I really think at this point...
It was an 11-minute match.
Yeah. But at this point, I really think the only reason they hired her was because they wanted to have Rancid show up. Like... Somebody in the AEW company must be a big Rancid fan and couldn't get him booked, but they're like, hey, Ruby knows Rancid, and they did a song. Maybe we'll have, Rancid come out and be shown in the crowd with Ruby, and we'll just destroy her. She cannot fucking catch a break, can she?
No, she can't. Stop having Brandy come out on the mic, please. Jim Cornette did a great roast of this the last time it happened, and
no one likes you.
Everyone was chanting, "Shut the fuck up."
Yes.
Even Dan Lambert's like,
no one. Look,
supposed to be. Dan Lambert's supposed to be the bad guy.
Yes, yes. This is the thing, and hun, I know, I get it, I know. But this is WWE level of things that we're dealing with, unfortunately, on AEW. Of the crowd doesn't like you. You are not the babyface, okay? You are one of the owner's wives, okay? And we're not too big on him right now either. So, don't...
It's like Stephanie going, Dad, why won't they cheer me?
You are being sent out there to cut a babyface promo, but you act like a heel trying to be a babyface, and it just is unbelievable. And there's one thing about this audience, more so than the WWE, in my opinion, because the WWE audience will still falter when the music hits, okay? Whether or not we trash a guy after the fact, when the music hits or Goldberg does the spear and the jackhammer, people will pop, okay? This audience for AEW is not really fooled by that stuff. They will boo a motherfucker, okay? They will boo you from the second your music hits, the whole match all the way through, and they will boo you after the fact, okay? Just be a heel.
Yeah.
And then Paige Van Zandt showed up. One, Paige Van Zandt is hot, okay? She's a former mixed martial artist. She is a current women's bare-knuckle fighter. She doesn't have a great record, but she's hot, and she can fight. And her and Brandy had a thing. And Paige looked good. Brandy did not.
Brandy's going to get her ass kicked.
Brandy is probably going to beat the bare-knuckle boxer lady.
No.
I hope this does not come to pass.
No. So, and then MJF and CM Punk had their match on Dynamite.
Man, I don't know how to feel about that.
Okay,
because
good. I'm not the one.
This match was awesome. But it just felt off, you know?
So, it had essentially 3 endings.
Yes.
Now, I didn't like... I think I would have been just as happy if they would have ended it the first time. And like, oh, now we got to have a rematch because shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they restarted the match, I never like when we restart matches anyway because, well, if we could do instant replay, then why do heels ever get away?
Yes, yeah, that I agree with that, and I'm glad that you brought that up because wrestling as a whole, and not just this, but wrestling as a whole has had a bad issue of inconsistency of the rules, inconsistency of how things are performed or stuff in storylines. And yes, if we had instant replay, fine. Or the fact of, you're telling me that no one in the back watched this shit happen before they sent a referee out there to count 1, 2, 3. Like, wrestling has always had a bad issue with that. A ref bump works because the ref didn't see it.
That wasn't the ref.
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying in general.
Yes.
A ref bump works because the authority figure who is able to start and end the match, because the ref is the guy who says, ring the bell, right? That gentleman is not in commission. Something happens. That gentleman comes to, I don't know where I'm at. Oh, shit, my job is 3. 1, 2, 3, ring the bell. Okay, that's fine. But when we're schmozzing it up multiple times, that's when the inconsistencies start to set in of, why is it this guy can overrule this guy, but then this guy can restart the match, but then this guy can overrule that? And once again, you're telling me that nobody in your multi-million-dollar production truck is going, hey, that motherfucker just cheated.
So, here's where my super...
It's just too much.
Yeah, here's where my split is. I would have been thrilled, happy, because I've never seen it before either. I mean, you've watched wrestling far, but seeing MJF choking him with tape while holding a sleeper hold, and CM Punk going out, I thought that was brilliant. I've never seen that before. I'm sure it's happened before, but I've never seen it before.
Yeah, okay.
And I was like, that is so MJF. Perfect. He's out. Referee's like, you won the match. All right. And then the referee sees the tape on the floor. He's like, oh, what's this?
Yeah.
And then they restarted the match. I was like, why? But then the second match was better than the first match.
Yeah.
The second match was it
was a fight.
Ass whooping. It was a fight.
Yeah, it was a fight.
Everyone sold their injury consistently. And so here's where my thing is, without them restarting the match, I would not have seen that second fight.
Yeah. But at the same time, this was a 40-minute match.
Was it 40? It was.
This was 39:15, okay?
And there was, yeah, I mean,
Did
there were...
we need 40 minutes of this just to prove that Punk can go 40 minutes? That Punk can do an hour? I mean, do we need a 60-man Iron Minute match every time?
No.
That was the thing with this, is that they gave us 3 matches in one. I would have liked to have seen 3 matches
No,
with
I agree.
this guy.
I wish it would have ended the way with the choke out. I would have been just as happy. CM Punk would have been, or MJF would have been swarmy, and it would have worked. And then you had the second match, where the second match didn't really have, for those like, but there were only 2 endings. The second match there was no ending.
Yeah.
They were both exhausted, and it was like, honestly, it should have been, Hebner should have gone 10,
Yeah.
both out.
Yes, absolutely.
Both out. Which is, because AEW is the only wrestling company that still does that.
Yeah.
They're both out. The match, and it's a draw. You can't say I beat you. You didn't beat me. The count beat me. And then there was the third match where Wardlow did Wardlow. But why did it take 40 minutes for Wardlow to finally Wardlow? And Wardlow did look like, do I really want to do this? You know what?
Yeah.
He did it to me.
Yeah.
And Wardlow, ultimately Wardlow, because it's that slow burn of the Wardlow turn.
Can I ask you a question, though?
Yeah.
Do you care about Wardlow?
I like Wardlow.
I mean, yeah, but, like, do you care that he will turn on
Yes.
him at some point?
Yes, because I've invested in it.
Because I don't.
I
I really don't. And it's not like a, we
There are
talked about...
so many people that are invested in it.
We talked about the, even if we see something coming and we get it, we can still be happy about it.
Yeah.
Like, we talked about that with Daniels
Mhm.
and with Adam Page and all that stuff, right? But when I look at it, it's like, I mean, I don't find Wardlow that interesting of him turning on MJF.
Here's why. Because I love MJF. I make no apologies. But it'll be so much fun to watch Wardlow ragdoll him around.
But, yes, but isn't that
The
just
devil
going
getting his due.
Isn't that just going to lead towards... I mean, and I know it sounds like... I'm not poo-pooing on it, okay?
Right.
But isn't he just going to get another bigger bodyguard?
Possibly.
MJF cannot... This is the thing with MJF. He's so great at what he does, right? And he's so believable because he's a prick in real life, okay? But for the wrestling thing, he can't just be the man on the island. The only time that Wardlow can turn on him is after MJF is the world champion. That is the only time that it will work for...
So you're saying I gotta wait like 2 more years?
That is the only time it'll work for them, is if he's the world champion. Because MJF cannot be a man on the island.
Mm-hmm.
Because
No.
if he messes with too many heels, they're just going to fuck him up. And if he messes with too many baby faces, they're just going to fuck him up.
So it's not the same, but in my mind, I'm going to give you a comparison. I was ecstatic when Roddy Piper finally beat Hulk Hogan in WCW. I was ecstatic. I loved every second of that. Put Hogan in the sleeper hold. Hogan was out. And to me, in my mind, it's kind of like that, but it's reversed. It doesn't make sense when I say it out loud now, saying it, but when just watching when Wardlow finally says enough is enough, and I'm just going to beat the hell out of MJF and ragdoll him around, but the thing is, I don't know where it goes from there. Obviously, MJF gets a bigger bodyguard and they squash MJF.
It's like, does he just get a bigger bodyguard? Does he just get almost from the WWE at some point?
So,
I mean, that's the thing of that storyline, is if we look at natural progressions for it. Wardlow turns, he gets a bigger bodyguard, replaces Wardlow and gets a bigger bodyguard, or the only time it works is he is the champion, which can then put Wardlow in a higher status picture, and it's okay for MJF to be on his own because he's the world champion, so everybody would be gunning for him anyway.
But here's the thing. Can you say that about all these different scenarios that you just put out there? All these crazy, weird ideas. Where is it going to go? You can't say that about a single WWE wrestler right now. because they are so pigeonholed in their storylines.
Okay.
Dave Meltzer gave it 4.25 stars. Well, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4.25 stars. I was impressed. I will say I was impressed that CM Punk lasted that long because CM Punk had not been looking that good.
No, CM Punk had been looking fine. The problem with CM Punk is this, okay? CM Punk had been looking fine, and he hadn't really looked winded. I don't care what anybody says. He's working, he's selling. The thing with CM Punk is he's a skinny fuck, okay? And he's skinnier. And every time he wrestles, he looks skinnier, which he has come out and said is intentional because he's done diet changes and exercise and stuff like that for the TV and movie roles that he's working on right now, right? Okay? So it is intentional. That's why CM Punk doesn't look good, because that motherfucker is smaller than Marco Stunt at this point. He looks so tiny.
So I think this match was amazing. I do like it. I think it's been the match of the year. No, I can't say that was the match of the year because it was an amazing match.
It was good.
It was an amazing match. I loved match 1. I loved match 2. I wasn't the biggest fan of match 3, but at the end, I'm glad MJF won.
Yeah.
On Rampage, you had Adam Cole waste his talent on Evil Uno. We're not even going to talk about that. Sammy Guevara had a great match with Isaiah Cassidy. And then Darby got involved. Thunder Rosa and Mercedes Martinez wanted to kill each other. And Ricky Starks and Jay Lethal proved why he's still amazing at his age.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's...
it was funny is he never got his... So as much as I don't like Excalibur the person, Excalibur the ring announcer does say a lot of things that I do like hearing him say. And
that's awkward because I don't know Excalibur as a human being, but everything he says on the mic is trash to me.
Well, what he did...
He fucks everything up.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. But he did say, he says good things once in a while.
The only things he says is shit that gets himself over when he has to constantly remand the audience that he used to wrestle people who, in front of 50 people at a rec center.
When he said, if Jay Lethal gets his lethal injection on, or maybe it was Shivani that said it. Maybe Shivani said, I can't wait to get the lethal injection because nobody's kicked out of that, and I want to see, but he didn't because lethal injection did not happen.
So, just out of curiosity, how did you feel about Adam Cole re-debuting himself as a serious individual?
You mean he had a serious match, or I'm done with the crap, I'm done with the shit?
Yeah, his promo that he had after the fact, where he just basically named every goofer that he's had to have a problem with for it, and basically said, everybody... I like that he meta some of this, where he said, everybody's giving me shit, but I'm dealing with all this crap, and I'm sick of dealing with it, and I have been the champion and the star and the main event of every single promotion all around the world every single time I've worked there, and I will be the AEW champion.
I liked it. If he goes forward with it.
Yeah, if they finally get Adam Cole back on track to be the guy that showed up the first night and walked out there with Omega in them.
Now, if he goes out there and... So the best thing that they could do for that is if the Bucks kind of buck with him next week, he's like, no, maybe you didn't hear me last week.
Yeah, he has to do that. He cannot do comedy shit anymore.
Over on Impact, which did have, we mentioned, Kenny King joined the No Honor Club. Cardona beat
What's her name?
My girl, great, Mrs. Grisham, Jordan Grace.
I couldn't remember if you had a picture.
No, I don't have. Man, if I would have got to meet her in real life. No, don't be creepy.
That was a little rapey, man.
Jordan Grace is gorgeous. Anyway, so Cardona is now calling himself the Digital World Champion, kind of a play on things, and he tweeted Vince McMahon, "Hey, at McMahon. Once again, I'm the Digital World Champion. Just wanted to let you know."
I noticed that... See, in the slides you did not put up, but I also noticed that for this you did not come back on the page when I made the comment I made about his oh man, you know,
Oh, yeah.
guess we're chasing the 24/7 championship right about now.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, except for Matt Cardona now has to run himself through a razor blade factory every night in front of, you know,
Well, he does.
200 people at a rec center when he could be chasing the 24/7 championship, take one bump a night, be featured on national television, and get paid $100,000 a year to do nothing.
But he's on Impact. He chooses to do that. I don't know why.
Yeah, but
I don't know why.
If I had to look at it as serious because of creative freedom, if somebody was like, "Hey, Mike, come here for a minute, all right?" So, you know, it's almost like video games, you know. If you hit the right button or the left bumper, this is what's going to happen. If you hit the left bumper, you're going to have to go wrestle Nick Gage. If you hit the right bumper, though, you get to go to WWE. Ooh, you're only going to be featured in the 24/7 segment. You're only going to be on TV for about 30 seconds. You're never going to get over, but you won't ever have to take a bump. And here is your $125,000 a year paycheck. Or you can go wrestle Nick Gage for $75. Like, ooh, I think I'm going to go over here. Hey, get back here, you fucking ninja! What would you do?
I mean, obviously,
For
I would go with
artistic freedom, I would sell out like a motherfucker.
Hey, but not everybody thinks $20 is $20.
I will sell out. I will sell you out for a paycheck, man. If they want me to get up there and sing La Cucaracha, I will do that shit.
You've already said that if somebody just Venmos the show $10, you'll hit me with a steel chair. I know.
I will, man. I will jack Joey up for like
a Kit Kat bar.
Cents on the dollar, man. Yeah.
It was a really good week of wrestling for these two shows.
Yeah, this was good. And the WWE not only is in a constant state of flux, both publicly, they also put on a shit wrestling show.
So,
I hate going back to back for this, but I have to ask, what the fuck was with Kaylee Ray and Mandy Rose this week on NXT?
You mean the 24/7 championship?
Yeah, where she was like, one, she kidnapped people, and they didn't realize that she was kidnapping people, and then she just chased Mandy Rose around the building and dumped food on her. Does somebody in the production truck just sitting back there just, yes, dump the spaghetti on her fucking yoga pants.
And then missed. And then missed with the
Well, it's
spaghetti.
because it was fucking congealed. Because she went, huh, and nothing came out, and she had to shake it out on top of Mandy Rose, and then Mandy Rose had to wallow around in it. I'm convinced it's got to be Pritchard. Pritchard's just back there with his little fucking stogie dick in his hand, just, yes, cover her in the food.
Don't ever do that again.
It was terrible.
Rumor has it that Dolph Ziggler might be showing up on NXT because, you know, they're really good friends in real life. Yeah, so that was this. So, the two best quotes of the week. They're two best quotes of the week. I'm going to show it. I've got a hat, a jacket, and a shillelagh. I've never felt more like a Patrick McAfee in my entire life.
Yeah.
And then
still the best part of SmackDown is Pat McAfee.
And there was something that Brandy Rose said that was really good. And said, I don't know why you're laughing, Ethan. The only reason we hired you is to get to Josh Alexander because they were in a tag team together. And yes, Josh Alexander would do. I would love to see Josh. Anyway, so here's since we're ending on this, AEW. My prediction of who's coming through the door next week.
Okay, yeah.
So, again, we're not doing a show next week. We are going to do a show in 2 weeks.
It's the Super Bowl.
Yeah, nobody cares about us for the Super Bowl. They're going to watch the Super Bowl.
No. Much like the WWE, we're just going to not do a show for that, okay?
And, you know, the Super Bowl halftime show should be amazing. But anyway.
Do you think they're going to actually let them freestyle?
No, because they'd have to hit the dump button every 30 seconds.
I think they can keep it clean.
I hope so.
I think if they have every 30 seconds, you know, I think they can keep it clean. I think they're going to let them do a freestyle.
I would love it. So, my prediction, Okada.
Oh, well, fuck you. That was mine.
Okay.
I was going to say Okada. Yeah.
So apparently we both think Okada.
That's why I said I think I know who it is. It's going to be Okada.
Yeah.
Just because the way Tony Khan phrased that statement of this person is still currently employed somewhere.
Yeah.
The only place that's going to let them have an impact to walk somebody through like that is going to be Okada.
Because it's not going to be Moose.
No. It's not going to be Moose. We've already seen that. It's not going to be any other promotion that's out there at this point. The only thing that makes sense is Okada. Now, could it be Shane O'Mac? I'm going to put it in the low 1 percentile, but that's not to say that it couldn't happen.
The only other acceptable... So assuming it's New Japan.
Yeah.
Which, New Japan does have a premiere date now.
Yes, it does. April, right?
Nope. I'm gonna put it on. It'll be on next. We're gonna talk about it next week's show because
we don't have a show next week. We just told
2
people
weeks.
that.
In 2 weeks, we're gonna talk about it in 2 weeks, because it'll be closer to the premiere. The only acceptable in my mind, aside from Okada, would be Naito.
Yeah. Will Ospreay? Would you accept Will Ospreay other than the fact that nobody knows who he is for the most part?
I would, because I know who Will Ospreay is.
Yeah.
Dalton Castle?
Maybe, but I think overall, it has to be Okada.
It's got to be.
And this was funny because a while back, we had a concept for a show that we didn't get to do. Funny that's like the fourth time that we've talked about this. But we were talking about who could be the next break.
Yeah.
You know, wrestling needs a guy. And they don't have a guy. And they've never had an Asian champion.
No.
Okada, right now where he's at, with what he can do, with the matches that he can have, I know... Still, I know there's some negatives when you're talking about translation to an American audience for something like that, but I don't see anybody bigger, better, or more important in wrestling than Okada.
Okada will translate to AEW very, very well.
I was even talking about the E.
Vince wouldn't let it happen.
Vince can fuck right off.
Well, I agree.
If you don't look at Okada and go, my God, look at this kid.
Right.
Now, granted,
they did already once, but granted, he wasn't who he is now.
Well, no, that was TNA who had Okada when they basically.
Vince had him once.
No, he was at TNA because
I
they
know.
did the talent trade.
Yes.
And they sent him there for a year to make him better, and all they did was completely kill his American career.
So, yeah. Well, I mean, I just look at what happened. Well, no, that's not true. We had an Asian champion.
Who?
Nakamura.
A world champion.
He held the world title.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
Nakamura did not hold the world title.
Okay, you go ahead and start your final thoughts while I...
Nia Jax is a fat, dumb bitch. That's my final thought. That's all I have. I watched your, buddy Renee.
I started
Farquhar.
Googling Nia Jax, thanks.
Much like Mr. Vince Russo, you just blamed everybody else for your failures. You never once acknowledged the fact that you are untalented, uncoordinated, and a dumb, fucking dumpy bitch who couldn't do anything in the ring. You were completely uninteresting. You are not talented to be in the wrestling industry, and I don't care who your cousin is. That's pretty much, for the most part, what it is the reason I wanted to talk about that is she blamed everyone else who... Kevin Chambers sent you the wiki just now.
I'm actually looking at it right now.
You mean the next great guy isn't Heath Slater? Hey, I love Heath, man.
Okay.
3-man band.
Okay, he was the NXT champion, he was the Intercontinental champion, he was the tag team champion, he was the U.S. champion, he's won a Royal Rumble. That's right, he won the Royal Rumble, and they didn't give him the belt.
Exactly, because they had the lackluster match with AJ.
Okay, I am wrong. He did not get... He was the NXT champion.
Nia felt that the fans turned on her because they blamed her for intentionally hurting wrestlers that she didn't do. You might not have intentionally hurt them, but you fucking hurt them because you never bothered to improve what you could do. The fight with her and Charlotte Flair
was a work.
Was Charlotte's fault. And Charlotte was the reason that everything went shitty.
Because Charlotte
sometimes
Charlotte goes crazy.
And
they're best friends. And
you punching Becky Lynch in the face and breaking her nose was not your fault. It was the producer's fault, who told you to go out there and have a real fight, and you felt that someone was punching you unfairly, and you thought it was Lana, so you just turned around and punched, and it happened to have been Becky. You never accepted responsibility for your own failures and your own shortcomings in that article, and you weren't very good. You weren't very interesting. I am calling you a fat, dumb bitch, not because you are a large, girthy person, just because that's just my insult for you.
Kevin has some wisdom.
It's like every other argument you two.
Once again, Michael is right, Joey is wrong.
That's right. Okay. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on Naya's interview with Rene Parquar?
I thought it was interesting that she was like, "Oh, me and Charlotte are great friends." That was just such a misunderstanding. Everybody's blowing out of proportion.
Well, I've had fights with my friends too. I'm sure you have as well too, which is fine.
Me and Kevin are about to have a fight.
Yeah, but the thing is that do you see what I'm talking about?
Yes.
She never took any responsibility for any shortcomings. Yes. She never said, I really felt bad that I fucking almost killed Kairi Sane by throwing her and lawn darting her into the fucking apron twice.
Right.
Oh, I get you. It was, the fans just overreacted that I almost did that. That was the thing with the whole interview that bugged me. And she was hurt and sad, and she said she'd even take a pay cut. It was all about her vaccination problems and things like that, and they just couldn't do any of that. Accept responsibility for your own shortcomings. You're not a professional wrestler. You're related to somebody who is, and you have outside credibility because you are a plush-size model.
Stick to modeling.
You're very pretty.
Yes.
You're a very pretty lady for modeling. Love it. But in the ring, you're a fucking walrus.
So, Kevin, I love the interaction.
Kevin just taking a massive shit all over Joseph in the comments. I love it.
All right, so so we spent an hour and 20 minutes talking about shows, which is about good. We're not going to do a show next week. We'll be watching the Super Bowl. We'll be doing a show in 2 weeks. Who knows what kind of fun things we'll probably be previewing or... No, we'll be watching.
2 weeks. We'll be Elimination Chamber.
It will be discussing the results of Elimination Chamber.
We're going to look at Elimination Chamber, and we've also got a couple show ideas that are going to be coming up here shortly. Joseph's working on some extracurricular activity stuff that we should have posted up for extra content on the page in the future. Mr. Kevin has issued a challenge for us to have a video game throwdown between Joseph and myself that we will be coming up with and producing here in the future. And on top of that, that's gonna be
our next show. Our next show will be talking about
Kevin. You predict Moose everywhere. The only place Moose is going to show up at is Impact in front of the 100,000 people who watch that each week.
Well, I'm not going to tell you about how much he was salivating when we were there live and Moose came out.
Is there something about Moose that just does it for you, man? Is that what's going on? Are you just like, Moose? Are you like Bruce Pritchard who's watching Mandy Rose get dunked in food and you're just like, yes!
Alright, so for Powerbomb Weekly, I am Joey. He is Mike.
Sometimes.
Kevin is the voice the voiceless. And
he can't suppress you anymore, Kevin. I won't let him.
Kevin did almost get replaced today as voice announcer guy, but he pulled it out at the last second.
I will have my 4-year-old jump on there and go, Rick Boogs! And that will be our intro.
Yeah. Well, apparently he doesn't like Moose. He was like, yeah.
You can't double back, man. You were like, yay, Moose, and you're like, no. Somebody called me out.
I shared a hotel room with him afterwards, and he was all about that Moose action. So, again, I'm Joey, he's Mike, we're Powerbomb Weekly. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Peace.
Enjoy your blood chamber show.
Because we will.
Yeah.